Okay, what's that? Okay. Okay, thank you. I'll call this special meeting of the Board of Education to order. With us here today is Mrs. Bardenwerper, Mr. Lee, Mrs. Jacobson, Mrs. Flynn, myself, Mrs. Maxon Kennelly, Superintendent Testani, Mr. Asa, Ms. Rinaldi, Mr. Krasnov, and Ms. O'Neill. If I could ask everyone to please stand for the pledge. Okay, and so item 3 on our agenda is public comment. Before I get started, can I have a show of hands, and there's nothing binding about this, but may I have a show of hand of who intends to come up for public comment? What do you think? Okay, thank you so much. Public comment, in case you're new for this, you'll just come up. You just need to press the button down for the green light to go on so that the microphone is working. We might be able to hear you even without it, but anyone listening online would not be able to. So if I can invite the first person to come up, you have 3 minutes to speak to anything on the agenda. Press the button.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Judas. I live in the town of Fairfield. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to share my concerns tonight. I want to begin by acknowledging that budget season is extraordinarily difficult, and I appreciate the time and care that goes into your decision-making process. I'm here tonight to ask that you reconsider the decision to reallocate the music secretary position and reduce its role within the K-12 music department. I'm speaking tonight from the perspective of both a parent and a certified teacher. I believe I've gained additional insight into the effects of this decision, having also served as president of the Music Parents Association last year. My concern is not short-term inconvenience. It's the long-term health of a nationally recognized music program that serves hundreds of Fairfield students. First, this change directly affects instructional time. When responsibilities like managing student instrument inventory, maintaining extensive K-12 music libraries, and coordinating performances are shifted onto teachers and department leadership, something has to give. And what will give is the time with students. Time for lesson planning, individual support, mentorship, and musical growth. As an educator, I know this is not theoretical, it's inevitable. Second, the music department has a level of administrative complexity that is truly unique. It may seem like a generic clerical role. I assure you it is anything but that. The volume, specialization, and time sensitivity of the job requires a dedicated department-specific secretary. This position isn't a luxury, it's an integral part of the infrastructure that provides teachers the opportunity to achieve excellence in the classroom and beyond. Fairfield has long been a leader in the arts. After previous cuts to the visual arts, further reducing dedicated support for music raises a legitimate concern about our priorities. For many students, music is not an extra. Many times I've heard students refer to orchestra or band or choir as their team of choice. Our music program empowers students with a sense of belonging. It is a critical source of confidence, identity, and mental well-being. Cutting a resource in this program is a small structural change that would create lasting negative consequences. On paper, it may seem like this is just a department secretary position, but it's the linchpin in a well oiled machine that produces 100 plus public performances over the course of an academic year. It is essential that we protect the
Hey,
structures
I'm sorry, that's your 3 minutes?
that allow students to succeed.
Thank you so much.
Good evening, members of the board. Thank you for allowing me to have this time. My name is Amy Parent. I am a resident of Fairfield, parent of 3 boys who went through the Fairfield Music Program. I also served as the secretary of the Music Parent Association for 2 years. I'm a certified teacher, and I'm here tonight because the music in our schools is more than just a performance. It is a massive logistical operation that is currently at risk. Most people see the concert on stage. They don't see the hundreds of moving parts behind it. Our coordinator manages the inventory and maintenance of hundreds of instruments, coordinates the tuning of every piano across the district, all the music reprints and licenses, that entire library, and handles the complex rental process that ensures every child, regardless of their family's income, has an instrument in their hands. This isn't just paperwork, it is the infrastructure that allows our teachers to actually teach. And as a teacher, putting on more and more administrative tasks takes time away from that. If you cut this position, these hundreds of hours of labor won't disappear. They will just fall onto the plates of our already overworked music teachers. From a purely fiscal perspective, this cut is counterproductive. Without a centralized coordinator overseeing instrument maintenance, small repairs will become expensive replacements. Without a single point of contact for rentals and vendors, we lose the bulk negotiating power and organizational oversight that saves the district money every year. If we lose this position, we lose the quality of our programs. We lose the teacher-student time that is sacrificed to manage logistics. And ultimately, our students lose the opportunity to excel. And our program is amazing, and we need to keep it that way. I urge the board to recognize that the music secretary is not a luxury, it is a necessity. As a mom who has a 3rd son who is currently majoring in cello, he was born of this program. Please maintain this position for the sake of our students and our schools. Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Eric Mongardis. I'm a certified teacher and award parent of a freshman and a senior in the band and the choir. First of all, thank you all for what you do and the time allotted tonight to share a point of view in this matter. I think the amount of support in this room shows how important the Fairfield Public Schools music program is to this community. I'll keep it short and sweet here and want to highlight that this one administrative position is such a small piece of the almost $250 million budget, yet the impact of this position is far more reaching. The Fairfield Public Schools Music Department gets accolades year after year, and it's due to both the talent of our students and the amazing teachers that we have. Let's not forget, we're also a unique district in that we have 2 large high schools where the participation in the music program, voluntarily I may add, is great, and additional support is not so much a nice to have, but a necessity. Please don't cut this small piece of the pie. The impact will be very compounded into great, amazing music department. Thank you for your time.
Good evening, members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Colleen Cooney. I am a parent of 4 students who are actively involved in the district's music program, and I am a music educator in Westport, Connecticut, with over 20 years of experience working with music supervisors and their administrative assistants. Through that experience, I have seen firsthand how critical this support is to making teachers more effective and sustaining strong and well-coordinated music programs. I'm here to express my concern over cutting the music secretary, supporting our music supervisor, and the impact that this decision will have on the music department as a whole. By eliminating this position, the administrative work does not disappear. Instead, it is shifted directly into our music supervisor and the teachers. Responsibilities such as purchase orders, instrument inventory, transportation coordination, facilities requests, registrations, and scheduling still must be done. When that work is reassigned, it takes away from the instructional leadership and weakens the department at system-wide. In effect, we are asking the district's highest paid and most highly educated music professional to spend a significant portion of his time on clerical and operational tasks rather than on the instructional and supervisory work he is trained and hired to do. This is not an efficient use of personnel, and it diminishes the impact of the position across the schools. The music supervisor's primary role is to support teachers so they can do their jobs better through curriculum alignment and implementation, classroom observations, professional development, and mentoring new teachers. These responsibilities require presence in schools, collaboration with staff, coordination with administrators. When time is consumed by administrative tasks, that essential work is reduced. Fairfield's music department is widely regarded as one of the strongest in the state. My family chose to move here specifically so our children could benefit from that level of excellence. That reputation was not built by chance. It was built through intentional support, strong leadership, and a commitment to treating music as an essential part of a well-rounded education. Each year at back to school nights, I tell parents that the strength of a school district can often be seen in how it supports the arts. Strong arts programs reflect strong systems, strong leadership, and a commitment to educating the whole child. Decisions like this send a powerful message about priorities. While the music supervisor's position has been increased to full-time, removing administrative support directly undermines that investment. Instead of strengthening the department, it limits the supervisor's ability to support teachers, collaborate across the district, and maintain a cohesive, quality music program. I respectfully urge the board to reconsider this cut and recognize that administrative support is not extra. It is essential to sustaining excellence in Fairfield's music program and the values that make the district so highly regarded. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay.
Good evening. My name is Delia Capola. I am the parent of Aiden and Thomas, a sophomore in college majoring in music and a senior at Ward. I've worked in more than 60 schools in New York and Connecticut as a teacher, literacy specialist, and literacy coach and consultant from Greenwich to Fairfield to West Hartford, and I'm currently a fourth grade teacher. So I know a little bit about schools, about teachers, and about support staff. I've been a Fairfield resident since 2018. When making the decision to move back to Connecticut, one of the main reasons we chose Fairfield was because of the reputation of their music program. As the current co-house manager at Ward, I've had the privilege of working with not only the Ward team, but the music department admin team as well. What they do for students is incredible, even on a shoestring budget. The clerical support that Kathy Gabriel gave allowed Kathy Connor, Kevin Cotterlees, and Scott Marsland time to do what they were hired to do. 1, cultivate an inclusive community of learners and musicians. 2, differentiate their instruction to meet the needs of all learners and ensembles. 3, focus on providing student musicians opportunities to shine in leadership roles. I have volunteered at Ward since 2020. In that time, here's what I've seen. I've seen students choosing their free time, their free periods, to stop and stay in Scott Marsland's classroom. I've seen people going in and out of Kathy Gabriel's office just to say hi. And you know what she does? She calls them by name. She wishes them a good day. And for my children, often hugs them, even though she can't reach them because they're so big and she is not. I've seen happy and excited students leaving orchestra or chorus or a cappella. The music teachers provide some of our most vulnerable students with a safe place to go, a place where they're valued, a place where they can be themselves and be mentally healthy. Kevin and Scott, Kathy and Kathy Gabriel can say that they provide those spaces. I'm worried to see that there's a proposed budget decrease for the music department in 26-27. And the removal of Kathy Gabriel from Ward is a disservice to our students because it is disruptive to their community, their team. The music department at Ward is a community and it should remain a community. Both of my children chose Scott Marsland as the first person to write their letters of recommendation for college. My former co-house manager has two children and her children did the same. They chose Scott. Why? Because he valued them, he knew them, and they knew that they were valued. That should be the goal of every teacher. That should be the goal of every staff member.
I'm sorry, that's your 3 minutes.
And it was Kathy's goal
Great.
as well.
Thank you.
Good evening and hello. My name is Brandon Lawrence. I live in Fairfield. I'm a current senior at Fairfield Ludlow High School. The Fairfield Public Schools Music Department has been a critical part of my time in the Fairfield school system. From being introduced to the basics and how exciting music can be at Osborne Hill to studying it more in depth now at Ludlow. I'm so grateful for everything the incredible staff and students of the department have done for me and my peers. Each individual music teacher I've had the privilege of working with through FPS puts in an immeasurable amount of time and effort into everything they do for the students. Through constant lessons, rehearsals, performances, and organization, they've created a department where students can thrive and find great success. I can attribute every single musical accomplishment I have achieved, be it region, state, or even national conferences, festivals, and honors, to the efforts of my music teachers. From after-school workshops to one-on-one lessons, and even just the encouragement to try. Most importantly, their continued efforts inspire me to become a music educator myself. More than just achievements is the impact that music education has on the mental health of students. The music department, K through 12, provides a safe space for students to engage in creative expression and disciplined study. Even just for me, joining an a cappella program in my freshman year helped me become a much more confident person and now leader. The a cappella program is just one of so many ways that the music teachers in our district dedicate their time inside and outside of school to students. The music secretary position has helped support these teachers in all the hard work they do for students, taking some administrative work off of them in order to allow more time connecting with students and creating the thriving program that everybody appreciates. I ask that the music secretary position is restored in the 2026 to 2027 education budget, so as to ensure that the music program continues to be as successful as it has been. Thank you to the members of the Board of Education and to Superintendent Testani for your time and consideration.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Scholl. I am a Fairfield resident. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. I'm an alumni parent and past Music Parents Association president. When I heard about the proposed elimination of the music department secretary position, I felt it important to express my serious concern about this decision. After working closely with the music department secretary on several occasions while on the MPA board, I feel eliminating this position will be harmful to the functioning of the district's award-winning music program. The music department secretary position is a critical role that supports multiple schools, thousands of students, and an entire department K through 12 that requires the support of this position. Eliminating this position will shift essential administrative responsibilities onto teaching staff and administrators, whose primary roles are instruction and leadership, not clerical work, school instrument rentals, scheduling, ticketing, and coordination of candlelight, carillon, and a cappella night, to name a few. Our wonderful music educators are worn thin already. Music education is not an auxiliary or optional service. It is a core component of a well-rounded education, and it deserves excellent administrative support, just as athletics, special education, and other departments receive. Removing this position sends a message that the work of the music department and those who support it is undervalued. I respectfully urge the board to acknowledge the impact this decision will have on staff and students, reevaluate the elimination of the music department secretary position, restore the music department secretary position into the budget. This is not merely a staffing issue. It is an issue of fairness, operational integrity, and commitment to student opportunity. I ask the board to correct this decision and demonstrate that the district values its music programs and the people who make them possible. Thank you for your consideration and time.
Hi, I'm Carol Guernsey, 241 Brookside Drive. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. As former chair of the curriculum committee, I have concerns that the superintendent's proposed education budget may be underfunding social studies resources. In our curriculum committee meetings, we were told that social studies books are provided at a 1-to-1 ratio because they are kept at home for reading and homework assignments. So I have concerns about how limiting resources to classroom sets of books would work with this teaching model. I'm respectfully asking the board to explore this further and to increase funding in this category as needed to support best practices for student success. A second area of concern I would raise is around FTE in our high schools. I'm particularly concerned about consolidating the role of the tech integration specialists and eliminating the math and humanities coaches. I am respectfully asking the board to take a closer look at the functions of these roles, as I'm reminded of a similar situation the board faced a few years ago when the data coordinator position was proposed to be cut and high school administration made a compelling argument to keep this position. Most importantly, I'm here today to speak in support of the restoration of the music secretary position. Fairfield's music department is the only department I know of that is repeatedly receiving recognition at the regional, state, and national levels. We're doing music right in Fairfield. I would also like to address some concerning points I've heard about the music secretary position. The narrative that the music department is the only department with a dedicated secretary is not true. Our special education department has many secretaries. Central office, finance, human resources, etc., have numerous secretaries. The athletic department also has a dedicated full-time secretary. The idea that there is a lack of equity between instructional departments is false. Equity isn't based on uniformity or giving everyone the same resources. Equity acknowledges different circumstances and distributes resources based on what's needed for success. I am here to request a full restoration of the music secretary position as it exists in the current approved budget as a full-time secretarial position dedicated to the music department and located in the Music Resource Center at Ward High School. Thank you for your consideration. Thanks.
Yes, can you hear me? Oh, sorry. Hi, I'm Matt Tassilo. I'm a Fairfield resident. I'm also a product of the Fairfield Public Schools myself, wrestling captain, 1991. After years in Boston and DC, my wife, now a Stratford Public Schools teacher herself, we moved back here. The strength of the Fairfield Public Schools is why I rode that public school education to Georgetown Law. I'm a New York law partner now. I do pro bono work for the Fairfield Public Pension Funds. So why did we move back? It was the Fairfield Public Schools. My older daughter became a music kid. This is foreign to me, okay? She started off in orchestra, she started off in choir, and singing became her thing. From Riverfield through RLMS to Fairfield Ludlow High School. She is now in Bel Canto, which is the highest choir there. She's in Close Harmony, the highest a cappella group. She also does Fairfield County Children's Choir, which is this symbiotic thing dominated by Fairfield Public School kids. I'm on that board now. So the opportunities provided have been unparalleled. This music thing became her thing. She rode the music department extracurriculars to tours in Florida and Boston with the Fairfield Public Schools, organized by their professionals. She sang at Radio City Music Hall last month with the Fairfield Public Schools. She wrote all of that to early decision acceptance to Boston University a month ago, right? And every college we toured, there's like 12 a cappella groups. It's a thing now because of the movies, right? So like the music department is unbelievable. And I would really encourage Superintendent Testani and all the board members, if you have not attended one of these things, you've got to go. It blew me away. I had no idea this was a thing. The next one is February 20th. It's a cappella night. It's both high schools, Ward and Ludlow. There's this little like, a cappella rivalry kind of thing, like a little sing off at a wedding, but it's unbelievable. These people, these kids get into Juilliard. They get into Berklee College of Music. They are polished. These performances are, when my parents go, who've lived in Fairfield since the 70s, they are astounded that this is public school kids at free concerts. So all of that is a long-winded, verbose, message that I wrote a train from New York to deliver. I would really urge you to respectfully consider restoring the secretarial thing. I didn't know all the weeds of it, but they coordinate beyond what any other person could do. It's going to get distributed, discombobulated. It really seems like a coherent thing to restore, and there's probably somewhere else we can squeeze a little to make up the slack. I realize budgets are difficult for everybody at this time, but this is something I would really urge you to restore, truly. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Cheryl Kim, and I'm proud mom of Daniel and Jordan, who are students at Fairfield Ludlow High. Daniel is a cellist in the Orchestra One at Ludlow. I am also on the board of directors for Greater Connecticut Youth Orchestras, and I can tell you how much work goes into making these shows happen. Just from being a part of this. It's a tremendous amount of work. And if you want to produce great music and great musicians, you have to give those conductors and those instructors the space to do what they do best. So I'm not in favor of unloading secretarial duties on them. I am a state employee. I've been with the state for 24 years. I work in a unit where the secretary was cut 8 years ago. We do pick up the slack, but I don't feel, I don't think that that we should take the talent that we have for granted here. These music educators are brilliant, and if they get too much put on them, they do have, options. I think it's important to consider. And last but not least, my mom was a secretary. She was forced into retirement. She was only making 40K a year. They replaced her with someone they thought they could pay less. Within a year, they had to hire 2 people to do the job that she was doing. Please don't take for granted all the work that the secretary is doing for 46K a year behind the scenes. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Heather Welk, and I am a Fairfield resident. Thank you for the opportunity to speak at tonight's meeting. As the current president of Fairfield's Music Presidents Parents Association, I find myself in a unique leadership position within our music community. For those of you that are not familiar with the Music Parents Association, our mission is to assist and support the music students and the music departments across our high schools in order to encourage the pursuit of their musical interests and foster a lifelong love of music. The Music Parents Association is a distinctive organization because it represents both Ludlow and Ward high schools. This unified approach helps us to maintain equitable support across our schools. I'm here today because the bylaws of the MPA recognize my role as primary spokesperson to the Board of Education and school administration. In addition to the hundreds of music students in grades 9 through 12 that are directly supported by the MPA, we are also charged with advocating for our larger music community. Given this wide-reaching role, the MPA strongly condemns any budget cuts that threaten the erosion of Fairfield's music program. Understanding the importance of the role of the music secretary and the nuances of how this position supports the exceptional work of our educators on a daily basis, I am here to express my deep concern that this role was eliminated from the superintendent's 26-27 proposed education budget. I'm here today to ask you to restore the music secretary position as a full-time secretarial position dedicated to the music department and located at the Music Resource Center at Ward High School. Thank you for your consideration.
Hello, my name is Julia Masso and I'm a senior at Fairfield Ludlow High School. I'm a member of Bel Canto Choir, student direct, one of our a cappella groups with Brandon, and a member of Triumph Music Honor Society. The following letter was written by alumni Michael Segal, who lives on 48 Southport Woods Drive, Southport, and Mark Jelcut, who lives on 193 Meerwinds Lane, Fairfield. The following letter states, Dear members of the Board of Education and Superintendent Tisani, we are former students and proud alumni of the Fairfield Public Schools Music Department at Fairfield Ludlow High School, and we are writing to strongly oppose the proposed elimination of the music secretary position. Our experience in the FPS music program shaped us not only as musicians, but as leaders and engaged students both inside and outside the classroom. The structure, consistency, and support provided by this program played an essential role in our development and continue to impact our professional paths. We both are currently studying at the Jacobs School of Music, a nationally acclaimed music school, and we can state without hesitation that the opportunities received through Fairfield's music program were major factors in our acceptances and preparation for this level of study. The success or track to achievement by students like us is not accidental. Our most successful peers at FLHS consistently participated in this well-supported music program with its inclusive activities and high-level musicianship. It is the direct result of well-supported program with the staffing necessary to function at a high level. The music secretary played a critical role in maintaining the standard during our time as high school students by supporting performances, managing instruments and materials, and handling essential administrative responsibilities. Eliminating this position shifts those duties onto teachers, reducing the time and energy they can devote to students in instruction. Students like us who were looking for time, opportunity, and passion. For a relatively small budgetary savings, this cut risks long-term damage to one of Fairfield's most accomplished and nationally recognized programs. We urge you to reconsider this decision and to protect the integrity, reputation, and future success of the music department and the Fairfield Public Schools institution. Thank you for your time and consideration. Sincerely, Michael Segal and Mike Jelcut, FPS Music Department alumni. Thank you for your time.
Hi, my name is Michael Lan. I'm a senior at Fairfield Ludlow High School, and today I'm not speaking on behalf of myself, but instead for an alumni, David Dye, who is currently attending Georgia Tech for an engineering major. Dear board members, I write this message from Atlanta, Georgia, concerning the budget cuts threatening the music department at Fairfield Public Schools. Despite the financial constraints that you must face, music education is a core component of the success I and many other fellow students and alumni pay homage to. The skills the music department have helped me develop contribute to all aspects of my life. From the personal relationships and collaboration skills to logical reasoning, music has shaped my life. I want to specifically mention the amazing staff who supported my journey through the Fairfield Public School system, from elementary school on to graduation. They are the heart and soul of the music department and are the source of its excellence. They encouraged and pushed me to be the best musician, student, and most importantly, person I can. Despite the tremendous amount of work music teachers go through, from creating lesson plans for numerous performance groups to focusing on every individual student's progression, they always manage to create a welcoming environment. Removing the music secretary will only create more burden on these teachers and reduce the quality of education students receive. I urge you to read the many research studies conducted that demonstrate how music improves intellect, spatial temporal reasoning, and other skills that not only are beneficial towards the performing arts, but also the sciences, mathematics, and other forms of academia. Although I do not personally study music as a major in university, its impact is profound. The connections that I made through FLHS's music program have remained lifelong friends. The collaboration skills afforded by playing in orchestra are reflected in my role as an aerodynamics design and performance engineer at High Tech Racing. The discipline and skills honed by practice and performance are mirrored in the way I approach challenges. Cutting resources to the music program not only threatens the music education students receive, but also the educational quality of schools as a whole. The skills that music education develops benefit the academic and personal development of students as a whole. Removing the music secretary is the first step towards a dangerous decline of the music program, and I urge you all to reconsider this decision. On behalf of the alumni from FLHS, David Dye. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Ready. My name is Anne Marie Petrie, and I have two kids. One who's already gone through the music department here in Fairfield, and I have a senior, Amanda Petrie, who is currently here at Ludlow. She is unfortunately not here tonight because she has a performance, so she's not here. But she is a leader in all of her choirs and ensembles at school. She's a member of the Honor Society. She's a part of Tri-M, and she's received 2 Halo Awards, which of course we're very, very proud of. So she's not able to be here today, but we've been in the system since elementary school all the way through till now. And music is really obviously a passion in our family. So she wrote a few words, so I'll try to get them all in. um, so she says, the music department in Fairfield has been the most impactful musical experience in my life, teaching me not only technique and music literacy, but professionalism and discipline as well. The faculty and hardworking environment that they have created have raised my expectations of what great music and art is. I am beyond grateful to all of my teachers over the many years for giving me the opportunity, and I am the opportunity for performance opportunities, and I am grateful for them for nurturing our love of music and confidence as musicians. I cherish the music and arts that we make, not only because it is beautiful and impactful, but because I get to make it together with talented musicians that I call my friends. I cannot imagine I would be quite the person that I am today without my education from elementary school through high school. Thank you to all of my teachers for believing me and being a role model. I also, as I hope I will be a role model for music and the arts myself. This group has given me the gift of song, and I will never stop singing. Amanda now plans to pursue music and the arts, as she's now had this strong educational background. Proud to say that she's auditioning at a bunch of different places, but has been accepted to Berklee College of Music for her singing. So it's really important, and just the inspiration that I've seen, the leadership that comes from these teachers, that just drips down from the top down to the students, is just such an important part. And it would just be a shame to make any cuts. So thank you very much again, Anne Marie Petrie.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you so much for coming out tonight. We'll move on now to agenda item 4A, which is a discussion of outstanding questions from January 13th. So in your, hold on, make sure I'm looking at the right one. So if everyone could, my fellow board members could turn to the one starting with staff salaries at the top. So C1 on the left. Letting everybody find that. So staff salaries, C1. So again, they're the questions we submitted. There were several in green follow-up questions as well as the provided answers. And I'm not planning to go section by section because we did that last time. So at this point, if you could just please be sure to reference the left-hand column, whether it's C2, etc. Any questions? Mrs. Flynn.
Thank you very much. This is a follow-up for C18. I went through the FTE analysis. A little bit of the missing piece for me is in the math portion. This hasn't come before this board, but before the curriculum committee has come several courses and some, I don't know when that's being proposed, but I'm just wondering, was that included in this FTE count? I just want to make sure we have enough coverage for all the sections that we are planning, maybe not what is currently being run. Is that the right, through the chair to Mr. Testani or Dr. Zavchan? I'm not sure
Yeah,
who.
we have enough teachers currently on staff that will cover all course requests from students for mathematics.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Mrs. Jacobson.
I'll follow up on that same question. The answer that the cuts were a result of last year's approved budget for this year. So I was just a little confused. I'm not sure who answered this question, why they would be counted towards the
So last year we reduced 9 FTE at the high school level. Some of those resulted in small cuts to mathematics. We never got into the details of what would be cut. We said 9 at the secondary level, and some of it as it was a result of not having the need in the area of mathematics. So that's why it was explained there.
So sorry, but sounds like you're counting the cuts that we made for this year towards the cuts that are going towards 26, 27.
The only cuts for this year, as we discussed, were the in mathematics was the coach at each of the buildings. That was it. One at Ward, one at Ludlow. Those were new positions a couple of years ago. We've reassessed that, and those were the only 2 reductions in mathematics.
The 1.6 and the 1.6.
Oh, no, it's a 1.0 and a 1.0. The other points are a result of last year's cuts that are currently not in the budget.
You're done?
We didn't cut any more. There's no other reductions to math for the coming year.
Want me to
You
keep
got the
going?
floor.
Okay, thank you. You were done, Mrs. Lynn? Yeah. Okay. All right, I'm going to jump back to the front page then, C3. I just wanted to follow up on this answer on the salary for the new position, less than $1,000 difference. And thank you for the next question on C4 for sending us all of the job descriptions across the various couple of things. I just was a little confused. If it was going from an executive director to a program director, I'm a little surprised there wasn't a greater salary differential there. And given that the job description is half of what the executive director is, I just want to make sure that that was the right answer.
Yeah,
for
so looking at the new collective bargaining agreement, top step with the additional compensation for a doctorate, it was less than $1,000 comparable to the previous position.
Okay, all right. So given that's the case, I guess my follow-up, and I can put this in for next week, is was there thought to just keeping it at that executive director level then, given the salary was not different, there was no salary differential? So that all of that additional supervision and work across different departments could continue to be done.
Well, it's just a main focus on mathematics, given the fact that we do have the science director as well. There was some other rationale behind the previous position that no longer exists.
Okay. Want me to keep going, Mrs. McAnally? Just in the Cs, right?
No, the whole packet.
Oh, the whole packet.
The whole first packet.
All right, I'm gonna go to C44 as my next one then. And this can be probably a follow-up for next week, Mrs. Mexicanley, but my follow-up question was about 25, 26 to 26, 27, not 24, 25 to 26, 27. So I'm not gonna go over it now. I'll just do it for, as a follow-up for next week, if that's okay. I'm just noting that for the record. C51. Okay, so this is the music roll. So just so I'm clear, the difference is 21,491 from the 46 and change to the 68. Just clarifying that that's the case.
Yes, because it was expanded from 10 and a half to 12 months, and then, so the collective bargaining agreement salary is, the increase.
Okay. Just wanted to verify that. And this might be just edits. So C61 and C62, and I don't mean to confuse anyone, but you kind of need both books this year and next year's to go over that. I just wanted to clarify how the administration wanted these pages edited. So this is page 36 in your proposed budget book. And it is page 42 of the current budget book. So just, and I don't know who to answer this, Mrs. Maxon Kennelly. So under personnel services, number 67, what we have currently is called an administrative assistant, but right now it says human resources support. And from this answer, you want that edited back to administrative assistant, correct? Okay, on the first one. The second one under 67 in the proposed budget book says human resources coordinator, but right now it says human resources support. Which one do you want it to be? No, I'm
Mr.
under personnel.
Could you please come up over to the table, please? Thank you.
Just so I can put them in the edits. It seems like there was some confusion last week about what they should be called, so.
Yeah, so for C61, we're saying it should be corrected to administrative assistant, and for C62, administrative services support.
Okay, so again, I just want to back up a second. Under 67 in our current budget book is human resources support, and in the proposed, it's human resources coordinator.
Okay, I'll go back and look at I wasn't
Okay.
looking at the prior year.
And then
one.
the
I was just
superintendent, you
thinking what
want
they
it to
should
be administrative assistant, where it says human resources support.
Okay, so I mean, that should be administrative services support.
So I'll just put them note on the edit page so you can put them how you want them to be.
Okay.
And if I
Okay.
could back up a larger question to that, because throughout this, which happens every year, there are things that are
Absolutely.
corrections, et cetera, the majority of which got acknowledged in that last column of response. But in terms of what work Mrs. Jacobson does, respecting her time, do you want all of the things that you found now that need to be corrections? Do you want them added to that edits, or do we assume if you acknowledge it here, that you're set?
You can just add them to the edits. Yeah.
Regardless, okay. Just wanted to clarify before Mrs. Jacobson did all that.
Sure.
You still have the floor, Mrs. Jacobson.
Sure.
Ms. Flynn?
My apologies. My mic was not on. The new role underneath the superintendent, underneath, that role was title changed.
The deputy director
Yeah,
of
it
safety
was
and operations.
inaccurate
Yeah,
in
so
the
that's
book.
under operations and
Yep.
maintenance, and I do have a note to change that, but you can put that in the edits as well if you'd
Yeah,
like.
we just want to overwhelm you with edits, but I don't know how it's gonna, there were a bunch of edits throughout the document.
The direction we just got is anything
Just
that you
put it in.
know to put it in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay,
Mrs. Jacobson, back to you.
Thank you. Back to C65. So we had talked about last time out of contracted services, it's about $200,000 in this line. But part of that is being pulled out. $76,000 is being pulled out. It's going into part-time employment for the security staff that we currently don't have budgeted in this year's budget book. So I just want to follow up on this answer. $76,000 when you went through the contracted services line was coming out of that line, right? for security
78,000.
staff?
Yeah, 78,000 is coming out of
Okay.
contracted services.
And then the differential, why it doesn't add up to the exact dollar to dollar is because there's an increase in that same line for 57,599 for Raptor expansion. Is that correct?
Yes, and there's probably, that's the bulk of it. There's probably some other little things because that's not the only other thing in that account, but yes, that's correct. That's the bulk
Okay,
of it.
so just breaking that down a little bit. Okay, just wanted to make sure I understood that. Um, where am I? Sorry, Mrs. Maxon Kennelly. Okay, so C81, I think that you did this in our attachments, from what I'm understanding. I mean, somewhat similar. Page 14, the last page. So can I count this as either, I don't know how you want this to work, Mrs. Maxon Kennelly, an amendment to the budget book or an edit to the budget book, the last page. It was about that chart with the changes of staff. We want to add that to what the BOE adopted. So do you want that to be an amendment to the budget book to add this page or just make it an edit?
That's an interesting question because obviously normally what we're doing for edits is numbers, but it is going to become our board. Any problem with adding that as a page? Because again, I think we found it really helpful. And if it's already
So
made.
it might be something like add this sheet. I just don't have a title for this one, unfortunately. Like it
Is
is.
it in closure number?
Yeah, I don't think Okay, so it might be like insert this page
Yeah,
at 179 or whatever, and then renumber accordingly or something like that. Will that
yeah,
be
that's fine. Yep.
Okay, add as an edit. Okay, perfect. Sorry?
Hold on, Mr.
Can we
Asa?
just have them do that without a motion?
That's what I'm not.
Yeah.
It's gonna go on the edit tab, not motion.
Oh, okay, so we're not voting,
That's what I
voting on.
think.
it.
I agree. I thought you were talking about making a motion
Okay,
to have
thank
it
you for
changed.
clarifying.
Oh, no, I think that it could just be an edit,
I
right?
agree. Okay.
Oh, yeah, no, I'll just put it on the edit page. Just so people know what I'm talking about when I put it on there. Okay. C92. Just, there was a, Mrs. Maxon Kennelly and I asked similar questions, but in different areas on this. The behavior technicians, I'm counting them as, the FTE here. But it was, later on described as being a part of instructional services. So just to be clarified, the two behavior technicians are FTE and professional services, or they are just in instructional services as contracted out?
The behavior techs are paid out of professional expenses other.
Perfect. Okay, so they're not actual staff FTE, so to speak. Okay, thank you. Oh, sorry, Mrs. Max, C95, I had asked for just a trend line on the CLC counts. We get a lot of trend data on outplacements, ECC, et cetera, obviously our regular enrollment. But I had asked for a trend line for the last 3 years for beginning to end of year. I know it's not here, and that's fine if you don't have it for tonight, but I was just wondering if maybe it could be a Friday packet item or something available for next week.
You're
So
talking,
beginning of year, October 1 count, June count, October, right, for the 8 CLCs.
just so I'm clear, you're asking for
Trend line.
from October 1st to June 1st?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that we'll be able to do that. These numbers are constantly changing. I don't know. We can do the best we can, but over the last 3
Is there
years.
a lot of fluctuation during the year in and out?
Yeah, there's movement all the time in and out.
In and out.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Rankin. Would it be easier to do like, similar to what we do for the ECC, like a start and an end, or is what you're saying that it really wouldn't be a reliable number because it's such a small, that, and with the movement, what are your thoughts?
We can do a start and an end. We also did a budget. I mean, Mr. Testani had a slide in his presentation that went back to 22, 23 with our settlements and our outplacements, what we budgeted and what our actuals ended at over that 4 or 5 year period. but I can put together a start of the year and an end of the year.
Yeah, I think that ECC model might be the closest that you're gonna get. Thank you.
Okay.
Ms. Jackson, may Mr. Ace ask a
Oh,
follow-up?
sorry.
Yeah, could I just, could I just get some clarity on what we're asking staff time to do there? I'm not quite
Trend
sure.
line.
Yeah, but what's the end? What is the,
Well,
what do you hope to get out of it?
I'm hoping to get out of how many students in the CLCs, because those change over time. And how are we doing in terms of the investments that we're providing there, in terms of student count, how many students we're serving in there? I just don't have any idea how many students we're serving in those.
I'm a little cautious. It sounds like
I
that-
misunderstood the
Yeah.
question. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about outplaced students.
No,
Okay,
no.
you're talking about
Like the
CLC
8
students?
CLCs, yeah.
And when you're talking
The
about the
TLC
8,
I know because there's only one of them and that's easy to discern, right?
you're talking about the 8 elementary CLCs.
Yes. And if you can't do that, that's fine. I was just.
What I will
think it'd be
do
interesting
is
data.
I have a department meeting with my team tomorrow. I will do the best I can to get you the information requested. I can't promise that we can get the information requested, but I will do the best I can to get you what you're requesting.
Okay, thank you. All right, D4, Mr. Testani, I think this might be Mr. Testani, or maybe it's, the CFO. So, I assume that we've reached out to the town because we did have the pension number that we needed to adjust before we voted. So I'm just a little concerned, and that was, almost $300,000 last year that we needed to add it. Have we, so go ahead, I see you
We did
nodding.
reach
Did you
out.
reach out?
We've asked. We haven't received that as of yet.
As a follow-up, when we met with the first selectwoman and her staff, the tone they set was that it's going to be a while. They didn't give us a definitive date, but they certainly gave us no reason to think it was going to be imminent. But again, that's without any promises. So
Okay. All right. All right, I'm gonna go, sorry, I can go through the whole packet, right, Mrs. Maxon Kelly? This whole first one. I'm going to transportation, if that's okay. All right, G10. I was just a little confused, Mr. Papa George, on the answer only because the budget book tells us that your answer was about the number of routes, but the budget book has a number of routes in it. So my question basically was that on the handout that we got in transportation, there's 171 routes on it. I presume that private school is not in the budget book, right? So they're subtracted out. So I think what the answer is that it's because of the private, right? Okay, so it's not because of the tiers or the routes, it's because of the private schools. Okay, no worries, okay. All right, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Just through the chair to Mr. Testani, there was a parent square message that went out today and I got a few questions on it. I just wanted to give you the opportunity to speak to it. I thought it was great and a lot of good information. Maybe just an opportunity to speak to the information you're looking for and the outcomes.
Yeah, we sent out a parent square message asking parents that it is financially straining to our budget. When we have buses where students that are assigned to the buses are not taking the bus very often, and that if they do not plan on riding the bus on a regular basis, to please go into the form and opt out. I received one correspondence from a parent asking if they had to fill it out because they desperately need the bus. And I explained if you desperately need the bus, that they shouldn't take zero action. So if anyone is listening, unless you plan on opting out of transportation, you do not need to take any action. I don't know as of yet because we just want to give it some time. We'll see at the end of the week if any parents do continue and and not continue with transportation and do opt out, but I don't anticipate this is gonna garner much, because it hasn't in the past. But I hope that answers.
Just a quick follow-up and a bit of advice. It's early in the week. Most of our PTAs do flashes on Fridays. I would just recommend maybe to Ms. Maxon-Canale to reach out to the PTAs just to give them that information, to double share. It always helps to get it twice. Doubling that message doesn't hurt. Thank you.
Yep, I'll reach out as well to the PTAC president. She also shared with they shared with me an updated contact list. I believe Monday it was, so I will also send something out to those folks if they can also do some outreach for us.
Thank you.
Mr. Krasnoff.
Before we move on to the new stuff, I wasn't able to ask my follow-up on C51, so if we can go back to C51 real quick and.
Yeah, again, we're not doing this by section order, so that's absolutely fine.
So through the chair to Mr. Testani, just for information purposes only, and because we heard from so many people in the public, what would be the exact cost implications to reinstall the music position, and whatever responsibilities that person has now taken over, what would be the cost for that position as well? Just so we can wrap our head around the total costs.
So the total cost to put back a secretary in the music department would be the cost of the salary plus the benefits. So depending on the individual, that would be hired. If they were a salary 40 some odd thousand plus the benefits, could be upwards of 30 to 35,000 if depending on if they're a family plan, an individual. We really wouldn't know because we would then have to post a position that she currently is in. But again, just not quite understanding the.
No, I was just understanding the cost implications.
We'll say
either way, whether
let's say $80,000.
And that's finding a new person for the position, not moving the person back and hiring the 12-month position.
Well,
or it could go either way.
It could go either way, but the individual that's currently now at central office in the 12-month position, I think I can't speak definitively, but had a significant raise and is happy, I think, with the raise. So she may not want to go back to being the music secretary and to a 10.5-month position for less money. So that would entail hiring someone new or moving someone from an existing position that's 10.5 months and hiring for there. So depending.
Understood. Thank you. I just wanted to get it out there in case any of us do decide to make that adjustment.
And that's an important thing to mention, because posting new, you'll get someone that will apply for the position and hired. The expectations are it's a 10.5-month position. The hours are till 4 p.m. Some of the things that were mentioned, prior individual did above and beyond for no compensation. So there is not an expectation that someone sits at a performance in the evening and tickets. That is not part of their responsibilities. It's outside of the workday. And may not be amendable to working outside the workday. So,
understood. Thank you for answering.
I have a different question.
Mrs. Jacobson.
Mr. Krasnoff questioned, spawned me to ask a little bit about our staff replacement numbers. So on page 8, it says that you're expecting approximately 20 teachers could be expected to retire.
Wait, could you give the question number?
I'm sorry, it's not a question. It's a new, it's just in the staff area. The staff replacement is 20 teachers expected, and this line also talks about the attrition, turnover, et cetera. So I know that you gave us a number for teachers, but just district-wide for all staff, what is the assumption on the staff for the attrition?
We really haven't made any assumptions outside of teachers. We don't have any administrators that have indicated retirement. I don't think there's any current administrators in the FSAA that are at retirement age. In terms of, maintenance, custodians, clerical, we don't, because there's not a definitive date where the year starts and ends. So they can retire, as we just saw, somebody can retire in December, another one in January, somebody can retire in February. It all depends when they hit their anniversary date, whereas teachers are more predictable because they retire when they hit years, and those years end in June.
So is the number in the staff replacement line reflective of just the 20?
I would assume yes, and that's also not a solid number, as we all know, because doesn't necessarily mean we're going to realize the savings. It all depends. No, I'm just, for those that are listening, everyone assumes that a top step teacher retires, we hire a beginning teacher.
Absolutely.
And as we all know, if it's a special education teacher, a speech language pathologist, a school psych, world language teacher, it may be an apples to apples swap out. You know, you may hire a veteran teacher that gives us zero savings.
Okay. So they're certified and non-certified. So just following up on Mr. Krasnoff's questions, one of the attritions that we do know about is from the secretarial, because the position that was filled by the music secretary went to somebody who retired, right? That's what you told us.
Yes, an individual retired in end of December, and that's where that
So
person.
that would be in this year's. It wouldn't be in 26, 27. Okay, gotcha. All right, thank you. Sorry.
Anyone else? Go, Mr. Krasnoff. Under the wire.
I guess I'll continue on with my questions. So these are gonna both be for Mr. Papa George. Transportation. It's G18 and G19, but more follow up on, I guess, both. So one of my follow-up questions on the 108 buses, that's just the buses themselves, not the routes, correct?
Correct.
And are they fulfilling the whole 108? What are we currently running now?
We're running 108 buses.
108 buses. So hypothetically, we couldn't cut more than like 10.
11, 10. Yep.
11. All right. That's it. Anyone have any
I have a
follow-ups on that one? Okay.
Mr. Asa.
Yeah, so Mr. Papa George, more direct, if this board were to move forward and tell you through a vote to cut 10 buses, would you be able to work with transportation to make that work? I would, but barring, obviously potentially some longer rides and as long as we're keeping within our board guidelines of ride times and et cetera, if we were to give you the directive through a budget cut of 10 buses, could you and the transportation department make it work?
So as I mentioned before, we're working through what we're calling the sandbox at this point through our tracking system. So what we're hoping to do out of that in the next few weeks is to make some cuts for transportation for buses. We're combining rides, everything. My concern with that is that's a snapshot in time, and it gives us to the end of the school year. Come September, we have to start this whole process again. Once we have all the legally required stops and students on there, then we have to get the ridership. So it's a never-ending cycle, and it doesn't carry over from one year to the next year.
Understood, and not to interrupt you. So let me ask it in a different way. Do you have a number that you would be comfortable with this board cutting, whether it be 5, 6, 7, if it were not 10? And saying, now, I understand you've got the hypotheticals and everything.
Yep.
But if you were given something to work with and told you have to make it work, can we do it?
I can't guarantee we can do it. We would do everything we've been doing to try to accommodate and make the bus runs, but we have to meet the the board's requirements, not even the state legislation for walking distances. We can't have students on a bus for more than an hour, so there are complications to making that happen.
If at this table we cut 5 buses, what would that realize us again, please?
5
cut 5 buses.
Cut 5
from-
buses.
As far as what
Cost savings.
dollars, I would have to go back and look. I don't, because that's not even a clean cut at that point, because is it a single tier bus, a 2-tier, or a 3-tier bus would determine. And if we turn around, cut 5
I don't mean to be
3-tier,
tricky, but that's what I'm getting at.
I get that, but
I'm trying to get
and I
this
can-
out in the open so that we can understand that it's
So-
not necessarily as cut and dry.
it's not a cut and dry situation, because again, if you guys came back and said cut 5 buses and I cut 5 3-tier buses, that could turn around and increase the number of routes we need on single tiers. And so taking a bus off the road is not a clear cut, just cut this much and cut this many routes or buses.
So, Mr. Asa, just to add to Mr. Papa George's answer, if you want to cut 10 buses, you're going to have to extend walking distances, period.
Yeah.
And then we can guarantee cutting 10 buses for sure. And I'm not saying do that at every level, but we obviously have an issue at the high school level for sure. And somewhat problematic at the elementary level. Now, I do think we can accomplish extending the walking distance, but not inconveniencing parents who rely on our transportation as well. So I think, but the board has to extend the walking distances in order for us to realize the savings, but also not impact the parents who rely on daily transportation to school and to home.
Mr. Krasnov, you have the floor.
Yeah, I have a follow-up to my own question. Mr. Papa George, do you know approximately how much a 3-tier bus costs? We had an idea last year, but do you remember the
Yeah,
number off the top of your head?
I apologize. I do not have the budget, the contract in front of me. I can get it to you.
That would be amazing. And if we were to hypothetically challenge to cut, let's say 250, 300,000, I'm sure we might be able to get creative and find a way, whether it's extending walking distance or something. Do you think something like that would be achievable?
Like I said, we're looking at every avenue. As you all know, we did the opt-out requirement for parking at the high schools. Something that was just brought to us and we're working at now is, if you use a before-school program and after-school program, you're driving your child to school already at the elementary level. So why are we not asking them to opt out as well, since they are driving to and from every day prior to school? So there are opportunities and we are pursuing every one of them that we can. You have the
Go ahead,
contract.
Ms. Rangney, you don't need to raise your hand.
I just wanted to add that if you look at page 63 of the budget book, just while you guys are talking about this, I thought it was relevant. We did add an offset of about 190,000 for anticipated efficiencies, trying to account for some of the things that Mr. Papa George is talking about. So I would just say that this kind of already assumes some offset to the numbers as they worked out. So when you're conversing about this, I would just take that into account that we tried to include some anticipated efficiencies that we were already talking about. So
To follow up to that though, every year I've been at this table, we've had a surplus in transportation. So one of my concerns, and this is kind of why I wanted to see what our estimated end of year number would be, especially on this one. If we're going to run a surplus again, I really don't want to fund another surplus, knowing how tight the budget is, and knowing that we're trying to have efficiencies.
Again, we have in the past had an efficiency, but again, those are efficiencies that we're able to establish during that current fiscal year and get the savings out of that. Again, to cut it ahead of knowing what we can do for next year. And as Frank said, we have anticipated some of those savings with the before and after school care, with this, the high school opts out. So, and we're going to continue to push out the messaging through next year as well to opt out from day one of bus transportation.
So where is that baked in? Because when I asked my question about, because we're at 21 and change %, I understand there's a bonding component to that, but where is the savings off the 18.5% plus the bonding
So
baked into this?
So it was baked into the 18. We came in at, I think it was, I apologize, I don't know the number. I want to say it was 17 something. And then once we added the bonding in and other expenses, that's when we came out with the total number of the 20.
Is there any way we can get
A
an
breakdown.
idea of what the bonding looks like, just so, you know, I
Absolutely.
made
we
it pretty
can-
clear I want to try to make some kind of cut to
Yep,
transportation,
so-
but I don't want to overcut it either.
No, I mean, the contract is obviously online, but I can get it to you and it has a breakdown of exactly what the cost per tier is as well as the bonding
Awesome.
in it. So.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
So to just follow up, an 84 passenger bus for next year, 3-tier is $679 and change a day. A 2-tier is $598 and change per day. And a 1-tier is $572 and change per day for an 84 passenger bus. That's the rate sheet, and then obviously that will go up less the following year, but that's next year's rates.
And given that Mr. Krasnoff has signaled this and signaled it last meeting, I will just earnestly ask if you have time, if you can meet with Mr. Papa George in the next few days, so that this way, when you come to the table, you both are comfortable with what your proposal is. I know that it will be in the document, but obviously, let's have that messy conversation as opposed to us napkining it at the table, if that sounds all right. Mr. Asa, follow up?
Yeah, just to follow up on that. So, Mr. Papa George, regardless of what happens at the table next week with this budget and to any amendment, playing in the sandbox here, it sounds like in the next month, is that safe to say? In the next month, you may have some more tangible numbers. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
So just to be clear, if we were to pass a budget next Tuesday that included a number and your work in the sandbox indicates that it yields more, we could also, as we have in the past, signal to the other town bodies as they go through the process, this money is here, and if you were to reduce us this, we can absorb it.
I would say yes, but I would also urge you to remember that, again, this is the work we do and the savings we are able to identify are through the end of this year. Next year, it's a restart and a reset to all these students are required. Maybe this year, 2 students that aren't taking the bus, so we're able to.
My
provide
assumption
them
is if we can
to-
pull it off this year, we can pull it off next. And I'm confident you guys can do it.
Well, I appreciate the confidence.
And I just want to point out that that is kind of the answer to Mrs. Bardenwerper's follow-up question on G14 of asking if work is going to continue, because I do think we'd love to be in the position to tell the town this is continuing. That doesn't mean we wouldn't also like something for next Tuesday, maybe being conservative, but with the expectation that the work is continuing.
We're trying to get before next Tuesday, the number of students that, just raw numbers, if we extended the walking distances, how many people would be impacted, and then work backwards from there as well, for those that would then regain transportation because of the need.
Okay, and I would say that as much of that with weeding out preemptively the safety issues, that would help also.
We're working on it. That's what
Okay.
we want to try to get, at least some raw numbers, but again, giving parents who need the transportation the option of getting the transportation is our main goal.
Absolutely.
This will then finally, we'll be able to see who actually needs the bus and who is not opting out that rides it once a month. I mean, we have to do something. We're not getting a solution to a problem that if we don't do something differently, we can't continue down this road.
Mr. Krasnoff, are you all set? Okay, Mrs. Flynn?
Just a quick follow-up. I think this is to the chair of the policy committee, which is the same person. I know that last year, that policy was looked at and voted on. The only thing that I remember being changed was the walking distance, correct? And it was never brought to the full board. I would, as we're kind of playing in the sandbox on your end, I would just make a request to the policy committee to maybe look at any kind of language that will guardrail this a little bit. While I fully appreciate the intent right now, we don't know where we're going to be in 5 years, 10 years, who's going to be sitting in any seat. And if we move those lines, that's done in policy. And if we don't have anything that protects this courtesy offer, my concern is that it will live with whoever is sitting in your seat. And while I very much appreciate it, I think that is a huge shift for this community. We saw kind of the reaction. I would love to see if, I don't know if it's legal, I don't know if it's possible, but if we could maybe play around with some language that could guardrail it a touch, I would appreciate that.
And thank you for that. And definitely this is not something that would be ready for next Tuesday, but I think it's an idea that we're all rather excited by. So to continue into the spring. Mr. Asa.
I was just saying, I just wanted to say, you guys will continue that in policy, but some of that can live in the regs.
Okay, Mrs. Jacobson.
Thank you. Just following up on Mr. Krasnoff's questions, the 108 though, that's in the contract, that includes, the contract covers public and private, so the 108 is public and private.
It is.
And if it is possible to believe that, I know that lives in the town side of the budget, but it is actually worse than ours. So, I appreciate, your suggestion and thinking through. I'm looking for a significantly higher amount. Like 10 times that amount. The reality is that, and this is just, when we talk, this chart that you gave us, this is just the regular, right? It's not special ed, it's not extracurricular, it's not the sports transportation or this is
That's
literally.
home to school.
Thank
School
you.
to
So
home.
that's really important to know. What we're talking about here is just to and from.
Yep.
We're not talking about all the other types. So it's the, and the line item in the budget, it's the regular ed transportation line, which is like 6.6 million. The reality is that it is, and I hear what you're saying, you start over, but we've done this many, many years and it really doesn't change. Our percentages of ridership do not change by building and by level significantly at all, right? Like 1 to 2% maybe on a given year. So they do carry over. And our best day of waste is 30%, right? That's our best day of waste. Overall as a district. So I think that we need to, I appreciate what you're saying. It's not easy. And I'm not saying it's easy, and whether we go with extending walking distance, or it really seems to me there's two options. You can extend the walking distance and then protect those who really do need it. Because you can see in here the kids who are that need these buses.
Yep.
I can see who needs the bus here. So if they're coming off, what are we doing there? Or the alternative is nobody loses the bus and you really just are doing much longer routes, right? So that's something to think about. But a couple $100,000 isn't where I'm at with this. We talked about this exactly a year ago. So I was hopeful that we would have been further along at this point. So this might be something in next week to start with, but come June, I would suspect that there should be something that's a little bit more deliberative of our actual experience, as we do with other areas of the budget, to be quite frank. So I know that you're working on it, and you're going to think about it and how we do this, but I agree with you. Something has to be done. So thank you.
Mr. Krasnoff.
Just a brief follow-up to Ms. Jacobson's follow-up. I agree. The number could be much larger. I don't know about 10 times. That I think is a very large number, but I was thinking cutting a handful of buses now. I just did the math. We're looking at about 125,000 per tier 3.
Okay, I do remind everybody, we are going to have an agenda item about our proposals so I don't want
get
to
it.
keep going down that route, but please, obviously, we will be talking about it tonight.
I just wanted to get it out there that so everyone could think that it's 125,000 about per bus on a 3-tier. So we'll leave it at that and we can discuss.
I would
it more
try to
as we
cut
get
the,
farther.
the single tier buses, because those are the ones that
Of
are the
course.
most inefficient. We want to keep as many 3 tiers. So if we could turn some 2s into 3s by cutting 1s, that would be the best.
I was just giving the number because that's
Yeah.
the highest,
Yeah.
and then you can back into the other one. And then I guess while I have a floor and Mr. Papa George is there, utilities, I did kind of give you a heads up.
Hold on, Mr. Krasnoff. We'll get to that on the agenda when we get to
Okay,
utilities,
sorry,
if that's okay.
sorry. Yes, absolutely. Sorry.
He knows he's coming back up. Okay, Mr. Lee.
I just have a quick question through to the chair, through the chair to superintendent. When you sent out the notice today about parents that drive their kids to school and will they opt out, that's not done throughout. We couldn't do that throughout the school
Throughout the year?
throughout the school year? Because to be honest, until I joined this board, I had no idea as a parent that you had to opt out every year.
We do it at the beginning of the year. We're doing it now at the middle. Really, the heads up was also included in the notification yesterday, was that we are going to be changing routes based on ridership, and that will be informing families of new probably bus stop times, because that's going to be a shift. Some people may be getting picked up earlier, some people may be getting picked up a little bit later, but we are going to condense routes as soon as possible, because we have a problem that needs to be rectified, whether they opt out or not. So there are going to be the expectation of some longer rides.
Thanks.
Anything else? All right, then moving on to agenda 4B. This is the review section of instructional services, main pages 51 to 55. In the handout in front of you, these are the E questions. Any questions here? Mrs. Flynn.
This is a really basic one, but question E12. I don't know if I just remember this really inaccurately. Didn't we purchase that with surplus at the end of last spring? I thought that was completed in budget transfers, but please someone correct me if I'm wrong. Anybody?
I'm trying to
Sorry.
recall personally,
It's
but I
I'm
know
sorry.
the-
It was E12. It was the
the
track
timing
and field
system.
timing set. I remember it was the June meeting. We were doing transfers. I remember it was discussed then. I just wanted to make sure if it got taken care of or.
Yes, it did get taken care of. It was purchased and ready to go. We're just looking, obviously, everything has gone up in cost, but we've maintained a flat budget with athletics, so we did allocate a few more dollars. All their subscriptions, everything has increased. Officiating costs across the board. So
Could we maybe just get a breakdown of that 25K for line E12, just to make sure, because it says that some of that allocation was the timer, which I believe was kind of a hefty price tag. If I can go find it myself in the transfers, but I don't remember.
So your question, because this 25 is for the
Yeah.
25-26
Yes,
school year.
It's for next year, but I believe that at least for that one item, that track and field timer.
Except I don't believe this is for next year. This is this year, this
Oh,
25,
okay.
because each athletic, the two high schools got 30,000 added to their budget for next year. This was part of the surplus.
Okay. So the
So this is a this year.
25K was the surplus that we voted on in June, and a portion of that is reflected here, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure I'm breaking down the numbers right, because it's in a different spot. Right? Good, thank you. Sorry, I answered my own question.
yep, thank you. But the timing system was quite expensive.
Didn't want to make sure we're buying two.
Okay, Mrs. Jacobson.
I have a question on E8 and E9 follow-up. So given the FTE increases that we're doing from 4 to 6.5 in evaluation, I was expecting to see an offset in these two categories for evaluation. But it seems that we're not having the offset in instructional services in these areas in the proposed budget book, but also adding evaluation FTE. So was there thought in when we went through things to reduce these line items by the $370,000?
No, this,
Okay.
for the evaluation teams, we simply, and we have evaluation teams now at all levels. At the elementary and the middle school levels, they're new this year. The only addition of staff was the addition of a special ed teacher to the middle school evaluation team. All other staff on our evaluation teams have been existing staff in the Fairfield Public Schools. We may have reallocated some staff when we were creating creating the evaluation teams, but we've only, out of all those 4 evaluation teams, ECC, elementary, middle, high, we only added 1.0 FTE.
I'll follow up. Okay. Thank you. You want me to keep going?
If you're ready, otherwise I'll move on to someone else and come back to you.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, Mrs. Flynn, did you have your hand up? Anyone else? In section E, instructional services?
Sorry.
Sorry, Mrs. Jacobson.
E20, so getting back to Katie's, if you see E20, okay, so E20 is also, I think this is going to be an edit because in our budget book, the sports costs looks like it was cut $25,000 this current year, but that's an error. So I just wanted to make sure that that should be an edit per the answer. The budget book says that we budgeted 290 this year, however, that the actual was 265, but based on this question, it was an error and it should actually not be written as 265. It should say 277,500. Is that correct? Is that an edit to the budget book? Yes, I'm saying yes.
I don't, can you just repeat that? I'm sorry.
Okay. So I'll show you if it's easier. If you go to page 55 in the budget book. Under ward, sports costs, we budgeted 290. The budget book revised says it's 265 for this current school year. So my question had been, what was the $25,000 reduction? And the person who answered this, which was Dr. Parrish, said that that was an error. And that it should be read 277,500.
Yeah, so they did a transfer from the sports cost line, which was originally budgeted at 290. And so the sports cost line in each high school, they each transferred 25,000 out to the sports cost co-op. That's the line that's mislabeled. Someone put it in a note. It says 00 unknown. It should say 00 district wide. And basically that was just there was just some confusion at the beginning of the year. They weren't clear that that line had funding in it. So they each put 25,000 in, sorry, 12,500. Well, one of them did. So it's not an error though. I can say that.
But it wouldn't be printed like this. It does need to change for the actual BOE book because it's not 265.
Yes, well, like I said, everything's printed in a point in time, so like I could see the 265 because what they did was the sports cost co-op line, they believe should have been 50,000, so they each planned to take 25,000 from each of their sports cost lines and put it into the sports co-op line.
The 2 athletic directors last year worked with Courtney. They wanted to establish a co-op account.
Yeah, we have that.
Yeah, so I think that's where some of the mix-up occurred. And how it was funded and how it was wasn't funded, so to speak. So we'll
Okay, so
correct the
bottom line
errors.
is Ludlow and Ward each transferred 12,500, making 25,000, and that explains the $25,000 increase to co-op. Yes?
No. So right now in the system, because I went over this one. So right now in the system, I think it was Ward transferred. They didn't know that there was 25,000 in that account. It was just like just a mistake. So they wanted to put 50,000 into that sports co-op account. Now one athletic director transferred 25,000 from the sports costs into the sports cost co-op line. Another athletic director didn't. The reality is that they're each gonna, when all is said and done, they're gonna take 12,500 from each high school and put it into that co-op line. So the total of that line of the sports co-op line is gonna be 50,000.
Okay. So the 25-26
Mrs. Jacobson?
sorry. The 25-26 actual amount then for co-op is going to be actually 235 from the 185 that we budgeted? Is that what you're saying?
You're talking about in the budget book now?
Mm-hmm. It says 210 now. So if you're saying it's gonna be 50 more, then it's gonna be 235, right?
No, it's, like I said, it's not gonna be, I don't think it would be good to look at that budget page. I think it's better to look at this supplemental, because this supplemental is what it actually should be. Because basically there's transfers in the financial system that just aren't correct. And what that column pulls is the transfers in the financial system, and
Okay.
those need to be corrected. So the better one to look at would be this one.
Okay. Let's do that then. Which letter is that? That is. Wow.
That's attachment F.
Yes, I like the page 3 actually.
Yes.
And thank you for adding the third column budget to estimated for 2027. What I'm going to do, and I guess Mrs. Maxon-Kennelly, another question, instead of an amendment to the book, I'm going to make a strike all amendment for the current pages to replace them with these 2 new pages, because these are the ones that are correct versus what's in the book.
And you'll put that on the edit page.
On the edit page.
Great.
Okay, so a strike all to add those into this. Okay. This page 3, 1067 to 1139,896. We're a little bit over for this year, not too much, but a little bit over, plus an increase for next year. This is a pretty big percentage increase in this area. A little bit concerned about other areas that are being reduced as a result. So, can we just talk about how we're going from 290 to 320 next year for the sports, and what are we anticipating for that to cover? Because the streaming is in here, all of the fees are in here, all of the rentals are in here, the equipment is already in here, the insurance, the trainers, and all that. So what is specifically is that 60K buying?
We're getting, again, the ADs are struggling because of increases, especially to officiating. Everything's going up. We also, have to double check, is the coaching stipends out of that as well?
Mm-mm.
No, they're not.
That's in
No, most of it's officiating costs.
So 60K for refs.
When you look at all the games that are played and the increases across the board and the number of, and I have to double check with Gina and Todd, that may also include some of the, costs for, game workers and all that kind of stuff as well.
Okay,
And
just because
also-
you're looking at the estimated for this year and it's 277, so it's less than the 290, so, I can put a follow-up.
We had an error, made by arbiter. So some of the officiating costs are a little down this year in the arbiter account because they left money in our account. Hopefully no one from Arbiter Sports is listening, which I highly doubt. So that's why the increase for next year, because we're not going to get another error to our favor. And it was a significant error. So
Those lines also include transportation costs as well.
But that, sorry, did you have follow-up? Okay. You don't have a follow-up? Do you want? No, I'll, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay,
I'm not done, so go ahead.
Is it okay if I jump in?
Of course.
Okay, a couple of questions. This is just one question about the streaming, which on E32, it comes with a cost of 14,600, but then in the response, it indicates that it's free. Didn't know if someone could provide, so that was E32 again?
Yes, so my understanding, and anybody can chime in because I'm not fully an expert on this, but my understanding was one school was using this software, and then the contract for the other school ended, and they chose to go with the same software.
So we're choosing to go with one for almost 15,000 and there's a free option?
My understand when you say free, are you saying the cost of the
I'm just saying it
parents?
says here, free to both communities. So that's what I'm not
So-
clear
so
on
I-
what's free and what's costing us.
I think what it means is that the parents don't have to view to use
Correct.
the software.
You don't have to pay to use
Oh,
it.
so it's not free to us?
No, it's free to
no,
the,
sorry. I
it's
think
free to the viewer.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
what, sorry, that was my question.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sure, Mrs. Flynn?
Just a follow-up to the streaming question. Now that we're moving, because it's 14,600, is that, are we contracted with, is it local? Oh,
Every-
HUDL, or do we
It's
have a
Huddle.
contract with?
Everybody uses Huddle in,
Who's everybody?
all the FCX
Mhm.
schools, everybody, we're all, so it's a service that we all,
So all FCX schools participate in this streaming service?
Huddle is pretty much the norm.
Can I ask, is there because I have a lot of apps on my phone to watch my children play a variety of things. Is there an option that we can make the public watch ads and then we don't have to pay for it?
For Huddle, I can ask, I don't think so.
I just know
don't-
for other streaming services, if you watch the ads, you don't get charged. So I think it's worth asking the question. It's $15,000. It's 29 in total, I think, with all, if you include all the other areas. So just maybe something to look at if there's functionalities of it that we can maybe not pass on to the taxpayer, whether it be by watching a video or this. I don't know. It stuck out to me.
I'm sure the ads on those other services are sold by the app creator, not the individual team, so.
That's my point, is that if if the service that Ludlow was using was at a cost to the viewers, I'm just curious to ask, does this service have a way that we can defer the cost from this budget since it's so tight? And can we, like if the
So can we give Huddle permission to include ads and
then
thereby
wouldn't
we get it for free?
charged? That's what I'm asking.
We could ask.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
yeah.
I just know there are other apps that do, so why not ask? You might get it for free.
Okay, for grouping together E13, 14, and 15, because these questions come up every year. And this is 15 years for me of this, which is everyone always being concerned, and I completely understand that in terms of why is one school having this and another isn't? And again, understanding, of course, that it's the principals who are taking their per pupil that pot of money and deciding this. But a couple of things about this in terms of being inconsistent, you'll see Roger Ludlow, and I'm not opening the book, has, I think it's sports and drama, Woods has sports and music, and then Tomlinson has sports, music, and drama. And then we see Roger Ludlow has something coming out of a district level budget, not the school budget. So I don't know if you could speak to that, Dr. Parrish.
So there are certain things that all schools come out of the district budget. We were responding specifically to that question in reference to that particular account. So Roger Lolo historically, and when I went back and looked for many years, does not have both a music supplies and a music cost account. So that's the difference. Is there are some schools that do have both. Roger Lolo just has one, and they put everything into that one account as opposed to splitting it out. So it's not something that has recently changed. That's actually something that has been over the course of many years where they didn't have both accounts. For whatever reason, historically, they just chose as a school to combine the two because the volume of expenses, it just for them didn't make sense to differentiate.
Okay, so
two
the fact
account
that according to
types.
this there's no music expenses, then where is that?
It's not that there are no music expenses. It comes out of music
Absolutely.
supplies as opposed to music.
So it's just in a
it's just the-
completely different place in the budget book.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And
Oh.
both Woods and Tomlinson also have music supplies. They have both a music supplies account and a music costs account. They split the two. Roger Ludlow just puts everything into one.
And why do they have to be different? I'm just saying that it would be wonderful to just for the sake of the consistency that
we would just have to change all the
I get
account numbers
they can
and
decide
everything
well,
else. So it
I
would just
think
be
that
a
would be a
matter
great
of
change. And, all right, so that was my question about the district level. And then, actually, this was, I've written it about middle school, but we do have one of our head principals here, and I was wondering if we could get some, and maybe Dr. Parrish, you can speak to it, or somebody else could. How is it impacting our schools that we do have this reducing enrollment? Because obviously they have what might seem like a significant chunk of money when you take their enrollment, multiply by what their allocation is, but then we start to see it divvying up. And I was wondering if we could have some just kind of color commentary on how are the schools being affected. I think especially of the high schools, which had significant dollar numbers and have seen a significant drop in enrollment.
Right, so their big pot of money, of course, got smaller because of that very reason, decrease in the number of students. So when they have that smaller pot of money, they have to make allocations accordingly, you know, based on what they may have originally had versus what they have now moving forward for next year. And so what you'll see is that the larger, because there are so many accounts that fall under, and I think this was a question, supplies and materials, that's a large number of accounts within their big pot of money. You'll see most of the cuts there. So you wouldn't necessarily see that impact some of all of their accounts equally just because of the amount of money that they've put into those supply and materials accounts historically. So when they were going back and looking at where they needed to make cuts, they just, you know, based it on, you know, what they already had that were things that were non-consumables that they could reuse, but also looking at what their needs are projecting forward into next year. And so they just had to make that judgment call based on their specific building needs. But it hits the supplies and materials accounts more just because that's the higher volume of, that's where the majority of their money goes.
Would it be possible for us to get some specific examples from a specific school? I'm asking if Dr. Hatzis could come up and answer the question.
Sure. I didn't know.
Sorry, I was hinting very badly, Dr. Parrish.
No problem.
And Dr. Hatzis, I will tell you ahead of time, I hope I don't hear about frosting being put back in and reused. That's a nightmare I would never want to revisit.
Thank you. Greg Hatzis, head principal, Fairfield Level High School. I think Dr. Parrish summed it up pretty well. I'll just tell you my process. When I see that there's a reduction to our overall allocation, I calculate what that percentage difference is, and then I start with, you know, my current year budget, and then I take a look at what would that same percentage cut to every single department, every single line item. But then I have to make adjustments because there are some line items that can't incur that same level of cut. For instance, there's one line in there that's internal suspension that has to do with, you know, paying the people who proctor the Saturday detentions. We generally run the same number every year, you know, regardless whether there's, you know, 5 kids in there or 20 kids in there. So that tends to be, you know, a flat amount each year. If there's a change in the salary of those people due to a contract negotiation, then that impacts it, obviously. So I will take a look at those. I will also take a look at which programs over the last 3 or 4 years, you know, did not meet this, you know, whether we went over budget and had to transfer money into that account or we're under budget. Sometimes there are innovations. For instance, I'll use the example of the science department. You know, there were more online replications of certain things that were being used, you know, one year where they did not need to conduct a particular lab that was relatively expensive. So in that there were some savings. So going forward, they may have replaced it with other labs and other experiences for students that weren't as expensive. So there were, you know, we took a look at, you know, maybe not, maybe incurring a higher cut at the science supply budgets. There tends to be 4 or 5 budget items that are the most expensive for supplies, particularly tech ed, family consumer science, science, and art. And again, those are mostly elective areas besides science. And so it is, you know, those are areas that I feel very proud in our district to have supported so well over the years, and being a comprehensive high school and allowing students who might not be pursuing the highest level rigorous academic courses to provide the programs for those students through 4 years. So we tend to want to not to cut those too much either. So That's the process.
Thank you so
Yep.
much. I just think it's helpful just to know that this is something where there's declining enrollment has another very real impact, and it also helps to explain the fluctuation in the numbers from one school to next. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Before Dr. Hatzis leaves, did anyone else have a question regarding that? Mrs. Jacobson?
To point to attachment K, the per pupil allocation, and just jump to the high schools for a second. Attachment K, it's in our handouts. It's on page 10, sorry, if that helps everybody, if you jump down to the high schools. So my first question is the 1288131 proposed for next year for the 2483 students. Just, I don't know who made this graphic, but that's 518 for a per pupil allocation. I wasn't sure why it said 257. Sports costs are always included as part of the per pupil allocation.
I'm sorry, what was the number you were referring to? The one,
Okay, so
257 I heard.
right, so actually 1288, the $1.2 million divided by the number of students actually comes to 518 per student, which would make more sense because way back at 10 years ago, it was at like 470.
Okay, I'd have to ask our finance
Right,
team to come up to-
1288 divided by the students is at 518.
Right, I just don't know how that 257 was generated in this particular document.
It may be that you didn't include
So
the
this
sports.
This year, when we came up with the per pupil, we wanted to specifically break out the athletic costs. So we looked at what that percentage or what that amount was per pupil, and we adjusted the per pupil down to just be the supplies and miscellaneous other lines.
Are the sports, music, and dramas at the middle schools included in their per pupil allocation of 162?
Yes, it is.
So why would we separate out sports for the high schools?
Because we wanted to ensure that 100% was going directly to the sports programs for those amounts.
Okay. The second question on that chart for the high schools, it says 325,000 each for the high school sports. However, isn't it 320? Sorry, 320 is what we were allocating.
325, 5 went to athletic trainer subs, and 320 went to the other sports costs for a total of 325.
The athletic trainer subs are in contracted services.
Yes.
You're attributing that to the per pupil allocation for the subs.
I'm sorry?
The 5,000 each is for the athletic trainer substitutes.
Correct.
Okay. The other thing I wanted to say about this is that I went back to 2017. We've asked for this chart multiple times, and what I would say is that elementary was the 135. It's 136. Middle school was 162. It's still 162. So when we go through budget documents and Q&As year after year, and we say, this is a decision based at the building, based on their pupil allocation and what they're deciding to do. And we have things like decisions that are being made on icing and things like that. There hasn't even been an inflationary adjustment to these numbers in almost a decade. So, and I'm not talking about the total numbers, I'm just talking about the rate, right? Because obviously the total numbers change based on your enrollment, and that's an enrollment based. But our elementaries should be at 180 and our middle schools should be at 200 at this point. And I'm not saying that I'm going to change that. But it is alarming to me that we're concerned about $325,000 or almost 700 grand getting to our sports teams, but our elementary and middle school students haven't had even an inflationary adjustment in at least a decade since I've been on this board. So was there talk about this rate and at any point in terms of increasing that?
No, there hasn't been any discussions. Speaking with principals, no one's indicated that they don't have enough money at any given year to cover the costs that they use these funds for. I mean, we can broach that question with the elementary and middle school principals at our next monthly meeting in the coming weeks, but there is always a push for these folks at some point during the year to spend the money. If
Okay,
we,
if that's the case, that would be helpful to know if we could get the feedback from them. That would be helpful.
well, but just to say that if we look at this point in time this year, I can guarantee you they haven't spent half their money,
Okay.
which means they're not projected, because any spending that's done toward the end of the year, after I would say April 15th, is just spending money to spend money, because there's nothing you're getting besides paper and supplies that will have any impact in the classroom in the last month and a half of school. So we look at that every year, and we see that the money's not being spent. So if we saw at any point at the halfway point that even 50% or 60% of the money was already encumbered, then we could start to say, well, maybe we're not giving them enough money. But they've given us zero indication through their spending as well that they don't have enough funds that would warrant an increase. But we'll ask them.
All right, so then if that's the case, then with this, I mean, I think other ideas have been raised as well, such as more middle school intramurals and things like that. So I'm not looking to make an adjustment here. I just wanted to raise the issue. And that would be great feedback on this chart. So thank you. Sorry. Yeah.
Go ahead, Mrs. Flynn.
Thank you. I would just ask that it just be looked at the end of the year, to your point, that maybe they aren't spending it down, but maybe there's something that they aren't doing because it's not in their plan for that year. So I know that each of our elementary school, like we've heard drama programs, I think are, and I don't want to take anything away from anybody else, but intramural, I just find that we're a little stationary at elementary and middle, and I would love to explore it, not add it, not make a kerfuffle at the moment, but explore it. Thank you.
Yeah, I would love to explore, like, the conversation about intramural sports at the middle schools would be amazing. But we're going to have to increase that budget significantly in order to, and I'm happy to do so, as long as everyone can ensure that they'll have somebody to coordinate it and ensure that there's going to be a high quality program at all three middle schools. Because I do not want to see disparities. And we're also going to need a commitment from parents, because we don't want to add transportation costs in addition to that to get kids home after intramural athletics. So I'm happy to start looking at that, and even including Todd and Gina to get some of their guidance and expertise on what the overall programming should look like, not give them more work.
All right, anything else in instructional services? Questions E. Mr. Krasnoff.
It's not quite in here, but from the chair to Mr. Testani, have we looked at any ways to trim transportation costs in sports? I know Mr. Papa George mentioned, vans, and some ideas have been floated around, but seems like, and even from your conversation, we had a bus that went and waited at Trumbull that shouldn't have it. Is there efficiencies here that we can maybe find?
So we are immediately addressing that, our concerns with our current provider. We are switching in the coming weeks to a separate provider for field trips and athletic transportation. Not sure if it's going to yield us a savings, so to speak, in comparison to last year, but to what we've already seen this winter, I think it's going to put a stopgap on some of the spending, because to your point, there's been a couple of trips that should have been drop off and pickups that ended up being wait time that were really close, as close as Trumbull, that cost our athletic programs upwards of $600 and plus additional, and we should not have been charged that. So I don't know if we're going to see savings. I do think that we're going to see better service having a separate provider. But we are looking into the vans.
Well, and I was going to say on top of that, for some of our, co-op teams or our smaller teams, are we still doing full buses for the transportation, or are?
Yeah, it doesn't really change in the pricing, especially the new vendor even mentioned, even if they don't have a regular school bus, they'll send an activity bus or a charter bus at no additional cost, because they want to obviously provide a high level of service. They are a local company, well, locally, they are based here in Connecticut. But we are exploring exactly what you mentioned, leasing or purchasing vans for our own internal use.
Awesome. Thank
Yep.
you so much.
Okay. Anyone else? Instructional services? Okay, moving on then to item 4C, review of section contracted services, pages 56 to 61, section F in the handout. Any questions here? Okay, Mrs. Jacobson?
Just signaling another edit here. On F6, this is about our interns. I had asked a question, just for clarification based on the narrative. So that's going to be an edit that we are going to 25 interns from the 14 interns that we have now and the 8 residents. I just had a question therefore on the map. The 25 interns at the 15,750 comes to 378, but the budget is proposed at 393. So I just wanted to make sure, to check if that was an adjustment for, so 15,750. It sounds like we budgeted for 26 instead of 25. Okay,
And we're just making it clean. Technically, Sacred Heart still uses the term resident, even though it's an intern model, so we just keeping it clean here. Their other resident model is called something else, which was the one we originally were under, but just keeping it clean.
okay, so my question though is we're doing 25 at 15,750.
Correct.
Okay, so there should be an adjustment
Yes.
of 15,750 to the negative
To the negative,
on the
correct.
total. Okay.
We may adjust it slightly because we are currently entering into a partnership with Central Connecticut State University that will cost $21,000, but it's not an intern program as this is. We've identified and working with Central Connecticut para-educators who are interested in becoming teachers in a one-year program where they stay in their current job. And so say in a CLC, so they don't have to leave employment. It starts in the summer. They start with classes. They take classes throughout the year. They have to have a bachelor's degree already. And then upon completion, they are certified special education teachers and 2 classes away from receiving a master's degree. So we've identified right now 4 or 5 potential candidates they have to accept to enroll in the program. They may not want to take on this, but it does give them 1 year. They keep their salary and benefits, work in their current assignment, and then could be hired as a teacher next year in special education. So it's a win-win.
Oh, that sounds lovely. I
Yep.
just want to make sure that we've got the right number here.
Yep.
'Cause it based on the information we've been given, it should be a reduction of 15,750.
So I will just say 25 times 15,750 is the 393,750. So just
25
25 times 15,750, yes.
is the,
Okay, while that math is
Okay, no
happening, just
worries.
one quick question to Mr. Testani. Does that program with Central Connecticut come with any guarantees or
So
that
we,
they would work for us?
yeah, so we talked about that today. We have 3 options that were on the table with Central. We're going to work with Steve Sedor to draft I guess, so to speak, the word is eluding me now, kind of an IOU that if,
Commitment letter?
correct, that if they don't complete 3 years with us, if we hire them, then they would have to, we'll prorate it, pay us back. Depending on if they leave a year early, they would owe us $7,000. If they left 2 years early, they would have to pay us back 14. If they leave right away, they owe us the whole 21,000. So
Did I have one question, but if
Go ahead.
okay, just one quick question. And I don't know if it just can nod or not to Mr. Mancusi. F12, I was wondering if this rental was IEP driven or if this is a service.
Excuse me, you're speaking of the rentals?
Correct, specifically the pool.
The pool is PPT driven, yes. So that rental is the cost of the pool at the Fairfield Y.
So not the University of Bridgeport?
That is the cost of the rental for the CPP. The aquatics program is for our CLC students.
Oh, CLC?
CLC is the
Not CPP.
aquatics. No, the CPP is a rental for UB.
Okay, so the answer, I'm just, okay. The answer is a little confusing. It
I
says
apologize.
this is the University of Bridgeport and Fairfield Y pool, Y rental for CPP.
Oh, excuse me. I should have wrote CPP and then CLC. So you're right, it is confusing. I apologize.
Okay, but the key part being is that this is driven by, this is a designation by the PPT process.
Students who participate in the aquatics program, it's in their IEP.
Gotcha. Thank you so much. Mrs. Jacobson, anything else? Okay, anybody else in contracted services? Okay, moving on to agenda item 4D, reviewing the section for tuition. This is section H. And I would note here, this time, Mrs. Jacobson, you were explicitly asked to add something to the edit sheet. So that kind of was my harkening back to my earlier question of, do we need to add it or not? But anybody else, tuition? Mrs. Flynn?
Just for H4, and this doesn't have to be right now, could we just get a comparison from this year to last year to where we are on PPT outplacements? We typically get the presentation December, January, obviously we're where we are, but maybe just in the packet.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry, Mrs. Jacobson.
Just H3 really quickly on the excess cost. Thank you for the explanation of where we landed, but my question was really about what percentage did we land at? Last year, I know we have fluctuated between 82 and
We
73
believe 62%.
with the bump up.
The bump up was a restoration, if you remember, and not a full restoration.
Okay,
Yeah,
what was our percentage? So we,
62, we believe it was the final number.
all right, thank you. That's all I had on that.
Okay.
So we're anticipating probably close to that this year, given the fact that I received correspondence, well, we all did, all the superintendents on Friday, and our third Fridays with the commissioner. If they were to fully fund excess cost at 4.5 times, Fairfield would receive a little over $4.3 million. But since excess cost is going to probably be, I believe the number is 100 million underfunded than fully by the legislators, we are anticipating the 2.5 million. But if we push for full funding, it's 4.3 million. It's not going to happen.
Okay, nothing here. All right, next, agenda item 4E, a review of section of other purchased services, pages 70 to 79, section I. Mrs. Jacobson.
So I was a little surprised to see Catalyst in here. I don't believe we've ever paid our RBHAO for services before. So, and correct me if I'm wrong on that case, because they're funded by the state, et cetera. So they're also in the town budget. So we're paying them a fee to do restorative practices training.
Yeah, we've been paying the last
We
couple
have?
of years, yeah.
Okay, I just didn't see it written out maybe that way.
Yeah.
So just wanted to.
Well, it was probably under RIASAP because they changed from RIASAP to Catalyst last year.
Yeah, I know. I just was interesting to see a fee. Okay, all right. That was my first question. Thank you.
Mrs. Flynn.
Just a question, and I'm sure these are two totally different things, but the restorative practice specialist at Walter Fitz, can you just explain, like, those are two different things. We're trying to train our entire staff in restorative practice, so those are kind of two separate roles.
Correct. He we added that position a couple of years ago when we took away the security officer. Obviously, having someone there that can intervene and work with students and get them redirected and back into class is a much more effective model than having a security car.
Thank you for reminding me. I remember the conversation now.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Krasnoff.
I got an overarching question, and hopefully this doesn't stir the pot too much. Are we going to see anything about Power School before we approve it in our budget? Are we going to see what the difference is? It's a lot of money, so it's hard for me to approve a new program without knowing the
Sure.
benefits, the pros,
Yeah,
what it is.
we can have a presentation created. It is the most used student system in the state. I think we're one of 5, I believe, that do not use it. And just the one of the biggest pluses, I believe, is that it integrates with CT SEDS. So teachers will have access to IEPs without being reliant on case managers providing those in hard copies to teachers at the beginning of the year. One of the things that always becomes challenging is that teachers are not always made aware of their students' goals and objectives and accommodations immediately at the start of the year because they're relying on case managers as they get back to be able to print those. But yep, we can actually.
Well, and it's for us as a board and.
Do you want Mr. Teddy to speak? Maybe
Yeah,
he can give
sure.
you a
It's-
little
it's
few
for
more
us as a
details.
board and for the public. 'Cause
Sure.
It's a big line item here, so
For the year, yeah, and then it's a reduction, but Marco can speak very much to this because he's well versed.
Yeah, the first year obviously is because of the overlap is really the big concern, and we actually spent a lot of time talking to Power School, trying to come up with a possible plan to not have the overlap. From a technical standpoint, it's possible, but from a training standpoint for the schools, the teachers, the administrators, it's just not possible. So that first year is a hit for the amount, but going forward, there is a reduction in the second year, and actually even discussing today, getting updated quotes because we have other Power School products. We're actually going to be getting even more savings with the bundling of the products that we have. So from a year-to-year standpoint, if you think about software as a large cost, because we're always competing with vendors and discussing with we're switching platforms because of cost reasons, that's a big impact. And it's almost $50,000 right off the bat for the first or the second year.
I get that, but we have a lot of programs we've brought on over the last few years, and now we're pivoting from one. And this coming budget will basically be double dipping on 2 different programs at the same time. It's just for me, and I'm sure for the public, it's a big line item. So I would have loved to know the benefit of switching more. Like I understand some of the benefits that Superintendent Testani's mentioning, but it's a big budget item. So, I'd love to support it and I'm all for it. It's just, I would love to know a little bit more about why we're switching versus what we have and why we're switching now. Not that maybe we wouldn't want to switch the following year or whatnot. It's a budget implication.
Yeah, understood. I think we could put together some information for you about the different impacts it has in the schools from a positive side for both the teachers, the administrators, and again, the long-term effect. But I think, again, because of the overlap, it's going to be something we have to get over for that part of it. So.
And also just a reminder that this came forward in last year's budget. So this certainly has been an interest of the district going forward. But to satisfy what you're asking for, Mr. Krasnoff, which I think is very reasonable, in lieu of an actual presentation, and this, I recognize it's a short week, would you be able to have something for our Friday packet detailing here are the pros of this system and where money is involved, that information as well? And this way, if there are follow-up questions, staff can let Mr. Testani know or be ready. But rather than get it next Tuesday, would you be able to do that by Friday or?
Yes, I actually do have a narrative going over the positive impact it would have. So I could provide that, and we could talk about maybe adding some links and some other information to it, because it's really a narrative as opposed to likely visuals and other links supporting it, as well as Mr. Testani talked about, was the side of other schools that are using it. CT SEDS is one good example of the integrations that we currently have a lot of effort and even money spent in custom development with Infinite Campus to get those integrations to work properly. So some of those things we're hoping are going to go away right off the bat, but long term are going to be a big impact for my department as well as the schools. We spend a lot of time, and the schools spend a lot of time from a secretarial, from an administrative standpoint, working on different components of things that are already built into PowerSchool, or already being supported by the PowerSchool team, as well as the state of Connecticut.
So that being said, are we going to be scaling back on Infinite Campus as we're ramping up on PowerSchool? We really have to do them side by side. There's no other option.
So what ends up happening is we would run Infinite Campus. What happens then, they will work with our folks at the especially at the high school level. The big one is scheduling. So as they're training our folks and working with our IT department, we will build the following year's schedule, all the course selections and everything using PowerSchool. So you get trained, but you walk away with your full schedule at the end of the training as well for those folks. So that, I mean, we have talked about it to try to get everybody trained in a short period of time will be the rollout then will be considered a disaster, I'm sure.
So just to clarify, currently you feel we got to basically just rip the Band-Aid, make the expense, and it is what it is.
We'll recover the money, as Marco's saying, in other ways, because everything through Infinite Campus is a request through them. Whereas Marco on the back end through PowerSchool and his team can build reports, can do all kinds of things that are not add-ons.
Right.
His skill set as the director and is going to save us a ton of money using this platform.
So is this savings we'll see in following year budgets?
That's
Just not
correct.
this year
Yes,
budget.
and even further, I will say, as many are aware of last year's budget, this particular account, the info management account that this is coming from, had a very large amount of savings last year, as well as this year. So if you cut it out, there's another almost $90,000 cut from the account that we're basically making efficiencies, consolidating other software. So this is going into that discussion as well, as we're having a piece of software that is efficient at what it does and is cost effective. So long term would be a large savings. I think we built an analysis last year, a 5-year plan that came up to about a $300,000 savings over a 4 to 5 year period.
That also might be nice to have for not just here, as the budget, if
Yeah.
it passes, moves on to other bodies, they may be questioning why
Yeah,
we need this.
in fact, actually, we just received the email this morning from the team, because we were waiting from the PowerSchool team to give us that 5-year analysis, because obviously it's been a year, and with everything going on, we didn't want to make an assumption based on their previous numbers. So we did receive that, and so we could actually include that in that narrative.
That'd be great. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Okay, Mrs. Flynn?
Thank you very much. I did spend a little bit of time doing some research just on the 2 programs because we haven't had any information. And from the sense I got, one of the main issues with PowerSchool was the need to buy additional modules depending on what you have. And in our current budget, we're sustaining the Infinite Campus food service module. So I know that that's where like we deal with our lunch cards and all those kind of balances. Do we have a module for food for next year, or are we going to have to buy an additional one? Do you have that in terms of it?
Actually, we're actually in negotiations and discussing with vendors currently what that would be. Not negotiations, discussions with vendors, talking about what that possible price would be. It's we currently pay about $23,000 for a food service module, and most of the industry standard ones, such as Mosaic, are in the range of 40 to 50,000. Those systems, though, include a few things that are our food service department doesn't have to do anymore. And in fact, the Whitson's department has been hammering my phone asking, can we please switch? So there's some gains on that side of it as well. But in terms of modules that PowerSchool and most other districts have to add, They add, they call it power packs and plugins. We in my department build all of those things in-house. So those are not costs we'd be incurring. We're going to be building them specifically for the schools, for the district, exactly as are needed. So there's no additional costs besides some of these larger modules such as food service. And we are discussing with the health department as well and talking with the town to actually get some supplemental pay for the health module because there's a platform called SNAP that the 27-28 year we would go to as well. But this current coming up year, we wouldn't actually be buying either of those modules because we still have Infinite Campus live to the schools.
Okay, so in at least 2 years, we're gonna have to buy. Do you think this is gonna be a concern with Power School having to buy the modules in your professional opinion?
No, and in fact, the amount, the answer, I forget which question where I put down about
Yeah.
$50,000 savings, that was including $100,000 for modules. So that savings was including those as well.
Okay. I think to Mr. Krasnoff's point, the analysis would be really helpful at this point.
yeah.
I can't remember a technology investment of this size being approved by this board that I've seen without a it's just it to Mr. Krasnoff's point, I'm not against Power School. I'm not for it. I spent about 3.5 hours today just kind of Googling it myself and exploring it, which I don't necessarily think is the best way for our body of 9 to do its work. So if we could get some insight from the administration, I think that would be really helpful. Thank you.
Any other questions? Mrs. Jacobson?
I-15, similar to Mr. Krasnoff's question, I kind of feel similarly about Wayfinder, sorry. We didn't get any information on that. We didn't fund it in this year's budget, but apparently it was added. So this is a $200 and almost $12,000 item, including the restorative practice, so about $160K. I would appreciate any information that we can have on that as well. Just because it's not something that we went over last year, and it's just a very large increase for next year in this area. So if there's anything that can be shared on that, Mr. Testani, that would be great.
Yeah, we did discuss that last year when it came to the survey. It was replacing the DESA, if you recall.
No, you asked me to add DESA as part of our budget adjustments for this year.
But Rob, who you want to add to that? And that was also a switch over then from Move This World.
Yes, it wasn't the
Yeah.
DESA. Yeah.
No, it was, but
Yeah, if you could ask the question again, I was distracted by an
I was
email.
just asking if there's any information on Wayfinder that you can send to us as well. It wasn't something that we had approved for this year. I know you moved into it to replace Move This World, et cetera. I'm not looking to relitigate that. What I am looking to do is it's a very large increase, just looking to understand a little bit more about the program. If that, along with the Power School information, if we can get something on that, that would be great. That was,
I will say that replaced the cost of Move This World and the cost of the DESA. Part of the reason why Wayfinder was chosen was because it does include the screener. So we didn't have to buy it separately. Separately, it would have cost more than Wayfinder. And then we budgeted obviously for restorative practices in there.
yep, thank you.
So if you have a follow-up question,
Just if there's anything you can send to us on the program, that's all.
So, Mr. Mancusi, if in the Friday packet, if there's a little bit more background on what is included in Wayfinder, why it's a good investment for the district, just a little bit of education for the board.
And
I'd be happy to get that too.
And just one follow-up, as a correction, we got 71% reimbursement, last year.
Yes, I informed him of the wrong number. I apologize, Mr. Testani.
Nice when it goes up.
Sure. So we budgeted for 65 though.
Well, as you know,
where I'm
last year.
going.
Yeah, well, last year we got cut and then they came in with a small,
400? That wasn't small.
well, we got cut 6 something and we got 4 something back, so.
The year before, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, who knows where it's gonna go? I don't know why we shouldn't, we should have a better idea knowing we're all doing budgets now, but
Well,
obviously.
technically speaking, the number is flat in the state budget, but per Mr. Mancusi's answer to us last week on eligibility for the 4.5, it actually should probably be a little bit less because of that. I'm just not sure that much less. So I might follow up with you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else? Mr. Krasnov?
I have a clarification question for Dr. Zabachansik. So we had a member of the public come up, happened to be a previous board member, to talk about the social studies curriculum and textbooks. What?
Wait, we're still on section other
Oh.
purchase services.
Sorry, I moved on to the next one. Yeah.
Is everybody else ready to keep pace with Mr. Krasnov? Hold on, Mrs. Flynn.
Just I-11, can we talk about the MFDs for a minute? So those are now installed in all of our buildings. The increase was due to adding color printing. Was that not available at the beginning of the year?
Elementary had color printing through the desktop printers because we did leave color printers in the elementary, middle, and high schools for color printing. We added color MFDs to the elementary. Now, the middle and high already had them, but we added one additional as well. Just
Okay. So where in the district do we still continue to have desktop printers?
they're scattered across there's about 145, give or take, that are scattered across the district. They're in key specific places. For example, the main office of an elementary would have them for printing on a letter or something of that nature. We're a very small amount of prints.
Yep.
Very specific form letters. Maybe a kid has a template that they want to put something on. So it's already, and then at the middle and high schools, in specific classrooms, they have them. In the graphics classes, they'll have one in those scattered. Some of them are in locations that have moved around because in the shuffle, you know. But in general, because of these MFDs and the number we put in, they're using those more fluidly, and the limit still exists with the desktop printers. So there's not a scenario where people are actually doing large prints.
Yeah.
And the cost for the MFD per print is actually less than half the cost. So it's actually, even though we're printing less print in general, we're also saving money on the total print cost.
Do
Because
we have a contract for that, for the printing?
yes, I will say the MFDs are not under my department. I because of the individual, I just want to make sure I was answering the question for you guys. That was one put in. But in term, we do have a contract with UBO or ANA for the MFD printers as well as the desktop printers as well. We have a smaller supplemental print budget for that, so that we pay for the toners and service of those printers. So.
And we feel like that's been successful? Or through the chair, Mr. Testani, we heard a lot about this in the spring. Does that need to be expanded in anywhere else in the district? Is that everywhere now,
Yes,
including central office?
yes.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Mrs. Jacobson?
What happened to what happened to what did we do? Did we get any revenue from the 999 desktop printers that were removed? What did we do with them?
It's a secret. So essentially, the discussions, I talked to a lot of vendors about the purchasing back of those printers, how that process works. Essentially, they have volatile chemicals in them. So there's a scenario where they might give you money for the printers, but then you're going to be paid for the toners. So I essentially negotiated with keeping about 100 or so of the desktop printers in central stores that were in good standing and newer ones, to then be able to quickly swap with, say, if a Woods Middle School needs a graphics printer that just broke, we're not paying for anything. So I reduced that desktop replacement. The ones that were 15 years old or more, found a company that would use it for scrap and used it to swap out for some Chromebooks. Essentially, just buying a few Chromebooks came out to about 60 Chromebooks, kind of like a trade, because it's really, you can't do money swaps in terms of these things. So found a company that does buybacks, got some Chromebooks out of it. So
Okay. Next
very fun project.
section, item 4F, review section supplies, text materials. Mr. Krasnov.
Sorry for jumping the gun, but back to my question, about the curriculum textbooks, there was a reduction in the overall cost. I believe we did review it a little bit in curriculum, but I figured I'd give you a chance to explain it to the full board so they can understand why there is a difference, because it was brought up.
Sure. So this refers to the social studies textbooks that were presented, I guess, a month now at this point. Before that number is always shifting. When we do the original number in a curriculum review, we simply take the shelf price and multiply it by students. We add shipping in, and then the numbers shift as the year goes on. We don't begin to talk to the companies until we have approval. There are things that negotiate afterwards. And then we also work with the teachers once it is completed. So with the tax sellers, we don't want to buy something we don't need and have it sit on a shelf. We heard that from this board. So we adjust those numbers as we go. If you were to take the shelf price times a raw figure of enrollment, you would get the numbers that are in the presentation. And then our department, our program directors, work with the teachers, the companies to maneuver them to be the best that they can as we move forward. We begin this budget, the program directors begin this budget in early September when they do their initial requests, and we edit it until the book goes to print at this point. So that's our best number at this point. It is lower than what we expected for a variety of reasons, but in the end, we will make sure that every student has the materials that they need for social studies and that the teachers request based on what was approved for the curriculum.
So nothing's been cut or changed. It's just a matter of how much we need. Correct?
We have not cut any approved textbook. For example, there is a course that generally doesn't run. That was in the presentation. The question for us is, do we buy full classroom sets of books for every building for a class that we have not run at this point in the last few years? Ms. Sousa and I have decided that's probably not currently the best spending of funds at this point. If enrollment increases, we would then go back to the board with that. To the question of digital licenses, our tech department has been able to track usage across departments on those. So we're always looking at whether or not we need as many as we do. If we see that they're not being used based on clicks and time usage, then we're not going to order them. It would be a waste of funding. If we know that a textbook does not need to go home because there's not much work outside of school that needs to happen with it, it's not something that we would, spend the money on. So that number has shifted from the presentation, which again was a pretty raw number.
Thank you.
Okay, I just want to jump in with one quick question. This was on, I took my glasses off. Question I-25, and this is regarding the kindergarten. And I'm just curious about the experience this year of using the screener and the assessment, and noting the answer to the question that there would be, I'm assuming, no interest on the part of Fairfield Public Schools to change in practice unless required to change in practice. And I'll admit I was a little surprised by that. The idea being it is, I believe, our prerogative to just set a date, and we would be relieved of any screening process or anything else. So I'm just curious if we could hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, to the latter question, that would take a change, I believe, in our policy to do, which is why I wasn't definitive on my answer there. I think many of us would appreciate a hard date, especially if it were written in statute.
Because that's what I will tell you, the required, I assumed you meant statute, because of course I would hope any staff who would like policy to address anything for the better functioning of the district would just say so.
If the policy committee would like to write a policy and the board approve a policy with a hard date, rather than have this option to give parents to have an assessment of their children, we would gladly rejoice to that. We're hopeful that the legislative session, I know it's a short session, would take this up. I don't anticipate they will, but if they do, I know a lot of superintendents that would welcome a hard date of September 1st.
Okay. So to be continued?
Yeah,
Because obviously I would say that for, for this board to be interested, we would want to know what, what is the data? What is the information that makes you request that? I was pleased with the change when it happened in the first place and didn't appreciate that the state then got wiggly on this. I thought it was better for the education of the students, considering what that kindergarten experience is like and the stamina required. But maybe this, I can stop there, just, then a conversation to be continued, knowing that you'd appreciate direction from the board.
yeah, if we're gonna make a hard stop, we're getting requests daily to do under 5 waivers. We do need both parts of it. I think that was your initial question. I just can't find it on here quickly enough. So we do a objective assessment with a school psychologist, and then we do a classroom observation.
Right.
Some students are really close to the start date, September 2nd, September 3rd. Others are in December. I will collect some data on the ones who got in this year. I just want more of the year to go by. We had about 70 last year. I think we're up to about 45 this year that we're completing.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Other questions here? Mrs. Jacobson.
I'll follow up on that. So it hasn't changed, so we still have to do it until they do a legislative change if a parent requests one. So it does need to statutorily change. They've been trying to get it done. It was raised, but it hasn't passed yet. I think it was in when that big bill that got stalled up, 7009.
There wasn't a part there that began to allow some district, I know of another district that has set a firm date of October 1st.
I'll go
as
back
in
and check, but I
period?
think that it's gonna continue to come up, because I think they want to move that forward, but it might have been in that big one that, didn't pass in the Senate
Okay. Thank you.
to make that hard, but it is also unequal, so we can continue to work on that, and I support that idea as well. Should I keep going, Mrs. Maxon Kennelly? Okay, I'm gonna go back to the, social studies question, so I'm gonna refer to question J3, which was my question on the social studies textbooks, and I'm looking at the answer. After consulting with the department will purchase classroom sets for certain courses and will only use one-to-one as necessary. This will be a priority area if there is surplus money. That's
So-
not what I heard you just say to Mr. Krasnoff.
Nope, that's what I said. We work with the teachers on each of these. If a course does not need home access, and right now the middle schools have said they don't, we would not purchase the books for home access
Why not?
because they wouldn't be needed.
So I guess I'm just confused. When we do the presentations, and maybe this is just a processing for me, when we have our curriculums and they're coming to us in a presentation, all of that background work, why wouldn't that be done before the presentation?
A lot of it is things do change after we move forward.
Would
So
they still be having the digital licenses?
as of right now, that is the request.
Say they will only have online version and not the hard copy,
As of right now, that's the request.
unless we fund the 305,000,
Say that once more.
unless we add the 305,000.
I don't know if that is the true number.
Or
I'd
the
have to go
difference
back and
between the
check.
977 and,
I hear you, but there were other things that were taken out as well, like that course that never runs, for example. So I don't know if that's a definitive number is all I'm saying.
okay, so it does signal to me though, that, again, your answer that if there's surplus, that this would be something that, I'll just signal that this is bothering me quite a bit. It's social studies turns. And there are other departments that are asking for very large increases in material supplies, and it's not their cycle. So the switch may be something that I propose instead. So just,
I hear you.
I'm happy to get a better number from you,
Sure.
before next week. But that's just, I'm just signaling, so I'll email you and get a better number
I
on that.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, moving on to item 4G, operations and maintenance of buildings.
Wait, I wasn't, sorry, we weren't done, sorry.
Oh, I apologize.
I'll keep going.
Mrs. Jacobson.
Sure. J19, my YouTube question on advertisements. So I'm just wanted to confirm here that as of the spring, at some point in the spring, there will be no more advertisements on YouTube that children can see.
That's the goal currently, yes. We just start pushing out the firewall, testing it out on a few devices, pushing it at the high schools just to see if it's working properly before we roll over. Because as I said, we have to have that filter in place, so it can't be just swapped without testing. So likely before spring break would be the time we would roll out, that we have that week to actually ensure that all the devices have pulled it in, and then we can disable the old. But the second the new one is enabled, we have that functionality. So we'd have the,
Sorry, sure. Mr. Asa, it is on J9. It was something that had been brought up about advertisements on YouTube and whatnot, and they're looking to address it. So I was just confirming that that's what's going to be happening. Thank you for, yeah, that's okay. Because it has to do with the licenses, the software licenses. YouTube is something that is part of our instructional software licenses. And what I was getting at here is if we needed to pay for something, was that something we had to address? But Mr. Taddy told us that what's going on here and they're fixing it.
and I will be clear, YouTube is not one of our, we don't pay for, I think I mentioned,
Right,
we're
I
not
know
paying
that.
for it.
Right.
I understand. There's a lot of vendors, names.
I get you.
What is Google? You know,
Okay. The J11 on the pouches for the rising ninth graders, what are we doing with the 760 12th grader ones? They're returning them, right?
I don't think anyone after a year of usage is gonna want those.
No, I know. I'm just saying, what are we doing with the 12th grader ones?
If there's any really good ones, I'm sure the schools will keep them as a backup for anybody who may lose one or something like that, as a replacement, but I'm gonna assume that they're not gonna be in great condition. That they would just be discarded.
Okay, just on the website, your page with the regs and all of that, it says that the 12th graders have to return them just like any other piece of equipment.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna ask for them to return them. I don't think we'll get more use out of them, but.
So there's no plan of what we're doing with the ones that,
Well,
as they roll out.
and to be clear, and I did put in the notes, they have a personal device in this, a phone, you know, from a hygienic standpoint. Their phone has been in this pouch, so I think giving these to a poor freshman, yeah, that's, so I
I'm
did.
not asking you, what is the plan every year for like 700 pouches?
Probably discard them. Or again,
That's what I,
if
that's,
there's
but
any
that's what the
decent ones, we may be able to clean them and use them if somebody is in desperate need of a replacement.
It's also our first year, so we don't
Correct.
know actually what we're going to get. So the expectation is they get
That's true.
returned and we'll see what kind of shape they're in.
Correct.
Yep, and I will add that there was a current discussion, and they're not here anymore. The principles we discussed when we were first rolling out the idea of actually having a Sharpie and marking these with their names, so that as they're floating, there was an understanding that that was Johnny's and Bobby's, et cetera. So that another point here is, as this years go on, we don't know what the students have been doing with them, what they've been putting on them. It's the same thing we do with the cases at the Chromebook side. We try to bring them back, and we will try to reuse them and clean them. But generally speaking, we try to budget for replacements for the new students that are getting them, because it's an unknown factor.
Sorry, did you have?
Okay, anything else in supplies? Mrs. Flynn?
Just a follow-up for that. Are we viewing the cell phone pouches as a consumable?
I did put under my
Oh,
supplies,
that was to you or to Mr. Testani, whoever.
so it would be under my consumable items. Yep.
How, through the chair to Mr. Testani, do you kind of have like a thought process or a philosophy? I actually kind of hearken to the way that Ms. Jacobson phrased the question, in that our current middle schoolers don't use pouches. So I'd be curious kind of like where the data is for middle school, how it's going there, because we've seen lots of philosophies across the county, across the state. I know I was one who was advocating for kind of more of like a trust-based system, and then if we had infractions. So I kind of love to hear the experience of the middle schools, because I know if this is going to be something that's going to be consistently in our budget and it's $66,000, I'm just worried that we're not going to get the support for this for as long as
Well,
some of us may want to.
The middle schools have lockers, and they're supposed to lock them in their lockers. we've discussed this. High school kids don't use lockers anymore, and for a number of reasons, and getting them to use the lockers. Talking again with both high school principals, they do not see removing these pouches as a good idea. It signifies something that it's cut and dry. If you have your phone out, the infraction is there. There's no wiggle room. You're supposed to have it in a pouch. It's supposed to be locked. So they maintain that having the pouches is a great help to the enforcement of the policy.
Thank you.
Can I add to the amount you mentioned? I have budgeted $12,000, so 6,000 per school budgeted for the freshman class for replacements. So it's just to be clear on how much we're budgeting for these additional pouches.
Okay, thank you. But I just want to, so middle school is going well though in the model that you're using? There's no
Yeah,
issues at middle school?
Yeah, we're not having any issues in the middle school, and it's going well at the high school. There's been, I looked at the dashboard
Mhm.
2 weeks ago, and the number of infractions at both schools, of first infraction, not a lot when you think about it, comparatively, it's a lot less second and very few thirds. So it's been effective.
I would encourage the administration to be open-minded in that we are hopeful. There's been a huge push in our community for delay till 8th and a lot of other objectives that I really hope will track with the entering 5th grader or entering 6th graders, who I think were the first cohort, or it might have been the year before, to make these promises. I would just hearken that I don't want anybody using pouches forever. I think this is going to be a life skill for our kids. So as we see practices and behaviors change, I hope that we can maybe shift our mindset a touch. I know for myself personally, I would love to see us get to that place. Thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Jacobson.
Just math, quickly. So just a couple follow-ups. So, Dr. Zapajanzik, did we actually spend the $545,000 in the ARPA money on those textbooks? I know you gave, like, all of it was spent on that, or did we reassign some of that money?
I think it was reassigned. I'd have to go back and check, but it was a few $100,000. I don't know if it was $500,000 though. On the digital text.
Yeah, it would just be helpful to
illustrative
know
math.
what that money went to instead, just because I'm probably gonna count that towards something. That's on J2, guys. Moving to, like just J18 and J19, basically that whole section on math. So there's some answers here about courses, curriculum writing, implementation guide writing, textbooks, etc., in an off-cycle year. We're voting on Tuesday. I don't have anything in front of me. So what's happening with that?
So the intent on Tuesday, it's a regular board meeting. There will be a presentation from our math program director on the changes in the textbooks. That is the plan.
The reason why it didn't come before the night of the vote?
It went before the curriculum committee last week, and it's a mad dash right now to try to get all this done. Again, we are trying to solve a problem that was created 4 years ago, and be attentive to the change of request from our educators, so to speak. So,
And as a quick follow-up, Mr. Krasnov, the committee unanimously recommended this move, correct?
Yeah, we actually asked for it to be added. We thought it needed to be expedited, so it could be part of this budget conversation. So,
And I will also add that in the interest of students,
correct.
that's why this is being fast-tracked, which obviously,
Correct.
if you went to the presentation, heard the presentation, were there, you understand this, we could very easily just postpone this for a year, but we would not be serving students by doing so. So, and I will say, well, can you remind me, when was she Dr. Charles?
Dr. Charles, yes.
Yes, when was she hired?
July.
So that's moving pretty quickly for the extent of the changes that I believe we're going to be seeing on Tuesday.
Yeah, let's put it this way. We asked if she could speed it up and be done in 2 weeks, and
They asked for a one and done, and
I'm pretty
that's where we say, we're
shocked
not
if
ready for
she-
that, but
if she could, and it seems like she was able to, so
Yeah, and
it's
to
pretty
be clear,
impressive.
I clearly, everybody want that to be, I'm just saying, in the broader picture of this budget and world language and social studies and all of that, it's just odd, timing, so that was just my question. So that's all gonna come before us on Tuesday.
The
The
math,
curriculum documents as well are coming on Tuesday?
yeah, the curriculum I'm sorry.
It's going to be a first read.
The curriculum documents as well?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Going on. Yes. Okay, next section, item 4G, review section of operations and maintenance. So where am I? So it's on page 23. Mr. Lee.
I do have a question about the utilities projection. I understand it is based on the 3-year rolling projection from the prior years, correct? Now, we have 3 new air conditioning units on 3 schools that wouldn't be part of that projection, but yet we're still projecting less spending on utilities with those 3, potentially 4 up in the next year?
Yes. The short answer is yes. The long answer is we anticipated those coming online this year, so we had already projected them in this year's budget. So moving forwards, they're already built into the budget.
And we're still looking at a deduction
We are.
from last year. Okay.
Mr. Krasnoff.
I asked this for the last few years, but any idea what the public benefits are? I did read your answer, but if we don't have a more firm and we need to talk to the town, I think it'd be good for us to know and maybe good for the town to know how much public benefits we're really also paying.
So we will work with accounts payable to see if we can, because we'd have to break it out. We didn't have the opportunity to do it yet, but we would have to break it out of each of the invoices or bills that we get from UI to do that. So we will continue to work to get that number, that actual number to you.
I appreciate it. I still think it's a much larger number than anyone realizes, and it might be good for us and the public to advocate to state legislator.
I was just going to say,
understand that, the schools and the town are actually being taxed this money by the utilities. I
Yep.
don't know if it was intended to be that way.
we encourage you. It would take a state legislation to change, so we would encourage you to move forward with it.
Thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Flynn? Mrs. Jacobson?
K8, on the contract, thank you for the answer, on the utilities management fee. So I guess my thinking on this is that how are we building our internal capacity, so that over time that we don't no longer need to be spending $500,000 a year, because we should be building our internal capacity for these behavior management orientations and not relying on an outside consultant for that. So what are we doing to train what other staff that we need to do so that they can do it? Or is that something that we might need to consider in the future? Because to say, well, every year we're just going to need to spend $500,000 for behavior change is just probably not a sustainable idea.
Absolutely. I agree 100% with that. And as you said, I think in the future, moving on as this contract is wrapping up, it's going to be a position that I would advocate that we add to in-house maintenance department so that we have somebody, this group is a great resource for us. We've been learning a lot through it, but in it also during this time with them, we have a dedicated person who works
Absolutely
8 to 10 hours a day in Fairfield, in our buildings, walking our buildings at night, after hours, walking during the day, meeting with staff members. So it's a full-time job for what this guy does. The contract, the benefits of the contract right now is he has a full backing behind him of engineers and architects and professional services. So when he's coming up with thoughts and ideas, he's bouncing them off engineers to see what's best case practices throughout the country. So once we get this locked in and we have best practices and we're moving forwards, I will definitely advocate for this to be an in-house position.
And also, we are having a presentation on this in February, correct?
That is correct.
So that might be a time to really flesh out more your questions on that, Mrs. Jacobson.
Yep.
Okay, because that's what was my thought process, that
Yep.
I'd rather invest in an internal staff or
Absolutely.
two even.
Yep.
that will be actually less and build our internal capacity around that.
Absolutely.
You want me to keep going, Mrs.?
If you have them.
Okay, K-12. So the security projects, I asked a question about reimbursement just because we did submit Tomlinson security project to capital and it was slated for reimbursement. So that's why I threw this question on here for the other ones. So why would these security projects not be eligible, but Tomlinson was?
So and I apologize for that. I did reach out to find out if in fact we did get reimbursement for the Tomlinson security project. I have not, that was I haven't gotten a full answer on that yet. I got kind of a around the corner answer, so I am waiting to get better information on that. But again, we do anticipate some reimbursement on these. We're hopeful for the COPS grant that we've applied for,
Okay.
and we continue to advocate for any types of grants out there. We continue to look, and anything we see that we can apply for, we do apply for on these projects,
Do you
all
ha-
these projects.
When we applied for the COPS grant, what was the general amount for those?
We used the same buildings. We were able to work with our vendors to get the costs for these, so we were able to put numbers into that based on same as what you see
No, I
here.
mean, like, what is the possible grant for those? Like, is it 15,000? Is it
Oh,
150,000?
no, we went for the full boat, so it would be,
So 100% coverage.
well, we have to put in, I believe, 125,000, and then we get 500,000. We went for a big grant.
So isn't it about 500,000 in the projects?
It's a 500,000 in projects.
no, it's
Those
not
aren't
that much for the
all,
security.
yeah, they're not all security
Like
projects. so,
350 maybe.
One, two, yeah, it's about 350, I would say.
Okay, so we might have that entirely covered by a grant?
We
Possibly. We applied.
applied. I will give
What
you.
is the estimate date of notification on the grant?
That is a great question. We email them every week, and we've actually received
It
notice
wasn't in
from
the
them.
NOFO? It wasn't in the notice of?
Nope.
It was supposed to have come out already, but,
Yes.
with changes at the federal level, I think it's just been delayed
Ah,
Yes.
a
gotcha.
couple of times.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right,
We've
thank
been
you.
we've been asked to stop.
Obviously, by not
emailing
by
them.
next Tuesday, but maybe later on.
Yep. Yeah,
Sorry,
we've
just
actually been
curious.
asked to stop emailing them. So
Okay,
Okay.
Mr. Asa?
But just correct me, am I wrong in thinking though that if we got that offset or that grant, that's not gonna come to affect this though?
Yes, it will, because it'll be revenue.
Oh.
Yep.
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
Mr. Lee?
But let's just caution also, I understand about this, it's in the budget, but again, something especially like this, we're not gonna stop it because we're
Of
not
course not.
getting the refund or the grant on it, right?
Correct.
Traditionally, we don't get that high amount, we can't count on 100%, and that actually should stay in the budget as is. And then if
It
it
is.
happens, great.
Again, I think at this point, we have several topics that are going to be part of our continued conversation with other town boards. So,
Moving
Okay.
on to K-14, I just have to ask the question. I know you gave the same answer as K-12, and I was asking about the garbage here, so I just think the answer might have been copy pasted because you talked about the COPS grant when I'm talking about garbage. But where are we at? It's been a long time. We've been trying to get this off our back, being charged for garbage dumping at our own town dump.
We are currently still paying tipping fees at the town dump. I apologize, I don't know what happened there, but my answer was that we are currently still paying tipping fees at the dump, and that our anticipation was to take this back up with the town in February, coming in the next coming weeks, to see if there's any movement on their end. My understanding at the last meeting, which has been a few months now, was that it would have to go to the Solid Waste Commission to get approval. So
Wow. Okay, all right. Going to K-19, staying on that same similar vein with the vehicle fuel. It says that we currently do not have a written agreement with the town guaranteeing ongoing maintenance of district vehicles. This is a $20,000 item. Are they taking care of them now? Because the number this year is like 6,000 or something, so.
I don't know if I want to say it publicly, but they currently do maintain our vehicles. We bring them in, they do all the service on them. With the changing occurring at DPW, it's been kind of a rolling movement down there. the agreement was when we eliminated our position for an in-house mechanic for these vehicles, that they would continue to work on them and we would pay for materials, air filters, oil filters, that type of stuff. Currently, we've never been charged from DPW for that. But with the new regime down there, I don't want to talk about it publicly, but
I don't know what new regime means, but
I gotta say,
I don't know.
Like-
Again, not for Tuesday, but this could be marked as flagged as something possibly. So, if need be, because I think we should get an answer on that. Just to clarify for K-20, and this is probably, the CPP program is at UB this year and will continue to be at UB for next year, yes?
Not, maybe. We're currently in negotiations to bring CPP back into Fairfield.
To
And
school, to university?
no, to the Black Rock Congressional Church. They have a phenomenal space. They're looking to partner with us. They're trying to do everything possible. Currently, we had an agreement, but the new risk management person at the town is in conflict with the town attorney on some good conditions. So hopefully they're going to work it out between the two of themselves, and this should save us some money on transportation and travel time for our students back and forth to job sites and everything else.
Mrs. Flynn?
Just a follow-up to Miss O'Neill's question, K-20, and please forgive me because my brain is mush. I can't remember the name of the new facility that is taking over near Veers, where the softball field is, the adaptive,
Oh,
what's it called?
The one Parks and Rec is building,
Yes.
the adaptive.
The adaptive, I'm just curious if there was
Sullivan
any.
McKinley House. that
Yeah,
building
right
there.
adjacent
Yep.
to it. If there was any discussion with the town, I know that that adaptive space was really being looked at. And when I saw it, was like, that's a very natural home for CPP. So as much as I love the partnership with Black Rock Church, I know of a lot of our schools partner with them. Just if there's any long-term planning for that program. I myself, as a board member, just a community member, saw that and thought about it. So I was just curious if you had
It's
discussed it.
definitely something we can broach with Anthony Calabrese and see
I
what.
don't know how much room they have.
Yeah, that we can bring that to the table. We have some other things that I'd like to talk with Anthony about as well.
Thank you. Just came to my brain as I read Miss O'Neill's question.
All right, anything else in operations and maintenance? Woohoo, we're on the back. All right, item 4H, review of section for capital. Anything? Okay, Mrs. Jacobson?
As everyone recalls, we cut the interactive boards last June for this year. There's 50 back in for this year for about $100,000. I just was looking to get a little more detail to the answer that says that we're switching to a different type of board to lower the per unit cost. So just some teachers will have different kinds and just a little more color on that.
Yes, so the vendor we've been using is Promethean. That's the current interactive board we've been using. In the spring of last year, they went from Active 9 to Active 10. It was a big switch in their internal systems. The price is the same. We're paying about $3,000 per board. During that discussion, they had put out a budget version. They call it the LE version of the board. So we had looked at it in the demos, but it was touted to be this budget version. So we were giving Active 10s. That was the budgeted amount, and that's what we've been putting into classrooms as needed. We decided to actually dig deeper into the LE. Turns out it's the same processors, same chips, functionality for the teachers the same. The functionality that the Active 10 gave wasn't something we were even using. There's functionality that we were, like, for example, swapping to a Windows operating system. We don't do that. We did a few tests, had a few teachers go through it, some LMSs, go through their workflow. It was identical. Again, same screen, same 4K screen. These are lightning fast, same CPUs. And so I was like, why you know, and it was right around the same. I literally just got a demo sitting in my office. You want to go play with it?
Okay.
So it was just, hey, it's a win-win. We can actually buy more boards for less money. So.
Anyone else? Okay, moving on to section 4I, review of section dues and fees. Hot takes here. Okay, seeing none. That brings us finally to item 5 on our agenda. One thing I will say just as a wrap up, Mr. Testani and I were discussing how if you have any other questions, what to do with them, and rather than have you add them into the green spaces on these documents, there will be on this spreadsheet access to a new tab by itself. And that tab will include any additional questions you have at this point. This way, all of the questions are in one place, which would also make it a much easier enclosure to give. So if something does occur or hasn't occurred to you yet, you will have a place for doing that. What I don't know yet is when that will close, but I'll talk with Mr. Testani about
We'll
that.
open it tomorrow morning, first thing. Tomorrow's Thursday, losing track. We could leave it open until Monday. Does that work for everybody? Well, I'm anticipating there are additional questions that after 324, there's plus follow-ups, there shouldn't be much left. Just saying.
No,
If there's
Lee.
another 324, you will not get responses to any of them. No disrespect.
What do you mean? That's already a tab on there.
Okay, so, last week you had talked about how we should leave like spaces for Mr. Teston. I guess the simplest way to start with that is, do you plan on putting you noted on here that
We
you
have, yeah, there's several that are noted in there. I already put one in. I'm anticipating getting bumped down while Mr. Testani puts his at the top.
Okay.
So we will see all the ones that are noted in here or not. I don't care.
There may be a few adjustments, just given the process we've been through, that I will enter.
Okay.
I don't foresee a lot.
I think there were at least 5 maybe in the documents here. So you've already put us on notice for about 5 of them.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
okay, so now open it up again for anyone who this is for either adds or subtractions. This does not commit you to anything, but it does help to put your fellow board members on notice. My one reminder is that what we really, really do not want is some surprises at the table next Tuesday, because when we put them in that tab, our finance staff will do the work for us of the wording of motions. So that includes major category, et cetera, none of which we want to be trying to do ourselves. So again, the most important thing is that you have it entered on that tab. Right now, it's as kind of a courtesy to your, again, fellow board members to let us know what you're thinking. I don't know, I think maybe the best, actually, I think I'm just gonna go around the table and give everyone a chance to just say either, I'm not thinking any at this time. Again, it does not bind you, but if something occurs to you, and Mrs. Barnworth, I'd like to start with you.
I don't know if any that I'm going to actually enter myself. I know I am interested in looking at transportation cuts, per Mr. Krasnoff. I think there is an opportunity there, and I am interested in pursuing that. I also, supported the SEL stipend. I know has been kind of thrown around. And regarding social studies, I'm not going to add it back because I feel comfortable that the teachers have put what they want, but it's just something that I do, want to research.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Lee.
I am also interested in the transportation, what we can do, but I don't think we'll have those answers by next Tuesday. I think throughout the months, we'll be able to get a better idea. Also, I was concerned, like Ms. Jacobson said, about the math textbook, but knowing this time around, the curriculum committee has approved it and looked it over. I'm comfortable voting on that also for next Tuesday. I don't think that will affect the budget either, on my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Back to Ms. Spardenwarper.
I just wanted to say regarding the math textbooks, that I was just so impressed with Dr. Charles and her commitment to get this to us. And I really feel like even if it's not the typical process, that we are really solving a problem. And again, I was just so impressed with the staff, and I just think that's a great opportunity for us to help the students as fast as possible. Thanks.
Thank you. Mrs. Jacobson.
So as I've indicated, I'm going to reach out to Dr. Zavajanzik to work on the social studies items, and also thinking about the music secretary. Those two.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Flynn.
I had proposed to the policy committee an amendment. This is budgetary related, but also policy related. There had been our class size policy had come before us. I had submitted 2 amendments to that committee, one of which dropped class sizes for K through 2 down to 21. I met with Mr. Chastani. I am also planning on speaking to staff, but I definitely have not completely abandon possibly bringing that amendment to the table with that policy, which would have a budget impact. So I want to be mindful of that. So I would be looking for offsets, and the areas that I would probably be doing that are in capital and supplies and some other places, but I wouldn't do that without speaking to staff. But I do want to put everyone on notice that I have some thoughts. Like I said, if we were to lower the class size policy, I've already run that work for K through 2 next year. It would be 9 sections. For just kindergarten, I think it's 4. And then also, we've heard a lot of parents asking for para support. I've been very transparent with the administration that I'd like to hear their thoughts and inputs on what would be most effective. We have heard tremendous communication from parents, including last week at our brown bag budget discussion and at PTA council last week. So I'm happy to speak to other board members. I don't really know where I'm at. I'm trying to be as transparent as possible, but it's something that's been weighing on me since we've heard about it. So thank you for listening.
Okay, so, but again, I appreciate your saying that you're going to be speaking with staff and, to that in terms of offsets. Thank you very much. For myself, I already put the stipends in as, into that doc. More than that, I'm still not sure. I want to digest these answers, but I will enter it as soon as anything occurs to me. Mr. Asa.
Pretty much everything I was thinking has already been said. So I do plan, Mr. Krasnoff, to reach out to you and hope to have a conversation with you and Mr. Papa George, because like you, I am kind of eager to see if we can find some savings in transportation. To Mrs. Flynn's point, just to be clear, are you proposing that by Tuesday you're going to find over $1 million in offsets?
I think that's not exactly kind of not what I'm saying. I think that the coinciding of that policy coming before us on the night of the budget is a little bit difficult for me. I'm not naive enough to make a gigantic policy change and not identify that there's going to be budget needs to that, but it's all kind of coming at the same time. It's coming before us. I am struggling with what I feel like is a active parent communication aligning with that policy coming before us. I know it's before the year. I'm trying to kind of wrestle with where I'm going to land. I want to be transparent about it. I've been hearing about this for a solid week.
No, understood.
Yeah.
I'm a little baffled at, and if you can come up with $1 million,
No.
because 9 positions is going to be well in excess of that, then I would just think that that's going to signal to the town boards that if we can find that as an offset, it's going to.
I agree.
Yeah,
and that's why
gonna be a
I
problem.
made the effort of meeting with Mr. Tastani and coming up with what I thought would be options that are also palatable and will solve a problem. I very much hearken Ms. Bardenwapper's comments about the math curriculum that came to us. That was to solve a problem. I very much see this in the same way. We have heard at our meetings about this comment. We have heard about this anecdotally. We have heard about it in email. This has been an issue that I talked about at that table when I was a parent. That policy carried through with me. It's hard to see it come before me and not want to address it. I'm not saying I'm going to add 9 sections, but I'm saying I want to do something.
So to that, I'd like to share a little bit of what my thought process was, and I shared that yesterday when I met with Mrs. Flynn, that I think we can reallocate some para support that we currently have in the district without adding any money into the budget to provide better support to our kindergarten classes across the district. Right now, they're split between kindergarten and special education. And as we all know, as needs grow within the day and the school year in special education, a lot of those kindergarten paras are being pulled and spending less time in kindergarten. So Mr. Mancusi and I had some conversations a few months ago that we are going to separate out special education paras and kindergarten paras in the assignments, so that these are dedicated paraprofessionals that service our kindergartens only. And I think that will help alleviate some of the pressures that our teachers are feeling. But just not to release too much information too soon, but we're going to iron this all out so that we can have dedicated kindergarten paras across the district.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Jacobson? Sure.
So
Again,
Again, I do want to be careful that we stick to the
no, it is
agenda,
about
'cause obviously-
it's about a budget adjustment then.
Okay.
Would it be helpful then as a possible, just as you continue to talk to each other, I guess, actually in every building where we have the regular paras, the library paras and the special ed paras, actually have kindergarten para there?
Yes, so the idea was to have kindergarten paras, special education paras, and either revert back to what the district had done for years and use volunteers to help check in and check books in the library, or Terry and I had an extensive conversation, allocate some money for some part-time employees to come in and assist. And some of this, smaller schools may not need as much support in the libraries. So we can accomplish what we need to accomplish without adding any FTE, but give a dedicated para to every anticipated kindergarten class next school year.
And this will be ready Tuesday. Because obviously that's to Mrs. Jacobson's point, that's going to be a bunch of lines added to the budget and what have you.
We
But
can shift, correct, so that everyone has the allocation based on the projected classes that we need. Correct. Yep.
Okay. Mrs. Rinaldi.
Nothing at this time.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Krasnoff.
A lot of things that have already been said, being on the anchor kind of doesn't leave a ton, but I am interested in cutting some transportation funding. I will get with Mr. Asa. Thank you for offering to do it with me, and with Mr. Papa George, try to come up with some creative solutions. Right now, just throwing a number off the top of my mind, I was trying to come up with 250, 300,000 to start. For me, that's a starting point. Now, I'm hoping to get that number even larger as we start going through the sandbox. But my goal is to try to find some serious savings to help us with this budget.
And I do appreciate that the two of you will work together on it so that Mr. Papa George is not having the same meetings twice. So I think that'll be a great conversation there. Ms. O'Neill.
Thank you. Not much new for myself either. I am definitely interested and would be supportive of cutting the SEL stipends. And I would love to hear what Mr. Krasnoff and Mr. Asa come up with transportation, because I think we have a lot of work to do there in that department. And it's just an area that would not affect programming or teachers, staff. I also would be supportive of reinstating the music secretary, and I'm appreciative of what Mrs. Flynn and Mr. Testani just talked about, because I've also heard the same concerns about class sizes, especially in K1 and 2. And I think after thinking about it, that pair support for kindergarten would be a good first step. So if we have something on Tuesday to look at, that would be fantastic.
Okay. So thank you so much, everyone. If there's nothing else, then a motion to adjourn, please. Mr. Lee, seconded by Mr. Krasnov. All in favor? It is unanimous. Thank you so much.